You ready to do this, Stu?
I am ready.
Are you ready to do this, Steve?
Let's get ready to rumble, baby!
Punch it, Chewy! 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 Punch it, R2! Punch it, Chewy! 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 Mike Tyson's Punch it, Chewy! Punch it, Chewy! Punch it, Chewy! Punch it, Chewy! Punch it, Chewy!
Punch it, Chewy.
Punch it, Chewy.
Punch it, Chewy! Punch it, Chewy!
Punch it, Chewy.
Punch it, Chewy!
Punch it, Chewy.
Punch it, Chewy! Punch it, Chewy!
Punch it, Chewy. 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 Punch it. Punch it. Punch it, Chewy.
Punch it, Chewy.
Punch it, Chewy.
Punch it, Chewy. Punch it, Chewy. Oh yeah. Punch it, Chewy. Punch it, Chewy. Punch it for the horde. Punch it, Chewy. Pull it, Chewy. Punch it like a single father, Chewy. Punch it, 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 Chewy. 99 ways to punch it, Chewy.
Punch it, Chewy!
Welcome, Superfriends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot is Stu Jones.
Hey, I'm the only co-pilot, really.
We're two nerds that just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 100.
100!
We release every Thursday morning. You can find us on our website, fortofnerd.com. We have links to iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, and everywhere podcasts are available. Stop by and relax a while. If you like what you're hearing, hit that subscribe button and get us automatically each and every week in your ear holes. Stu, it is 100. The day has arrived. We are triple digits. And we have the original co-host, Steve Madura, back in the house. What is going on, fellas?
100!
It is good to be here, my gosh. Thanks for having me.
So Steve, welcome back. Like I said, man, it's been a long time since you've been on the podcast. It's been about 9 months since you've shown your face around these parts.
Yeah,
Why don't
man.
you tell us what's been going on?
Feels good. No, it feels good to be back. There is a bit of a cheesy funk in here. I don't know what the smell is here. You guys get some air freshener, maybe a lady's touch. I don't know. Something's going on. A lot of man going on here. Things are good, man. Things are good. Happy to be back, and life has been really busy since we last spoke. A real quick update. I know for some of the super friends that have asked and those that haven't, I'm going to tell it anyway. My father is doing well. He actually is about a month out from getting. I'm going to put him into a senior living for VA veterans. And that's exciting for him because he's had a bit of a hard living situation for the last year or two. So,
is that the one that's really close to you that you were looking at before?
Yeah, it's actually in Aurora, so it's close to where he's at now. But yeah, so I'm gonna. He gets moved in November, early in November. So he's excited. I'm excited. Get out of where he's at right now.
Excited.
So.
Well, when you see your dad, you give him a big hug for me, and you let him know that I love him.
I will. We're going to put in a bachelor pad. There's going to be a jacuzzi. All the ladies will be flocking
Nice.
around. Mm-hmm. You know it.
Give him a big hug from me, too, and tell him I'm a complete stranger, and get his reaction.
I'll hold him extra long, Stu. Extra long.
Nice.
And then just otherwise, things have been crazy busy at work. I actually just got back from Orlando last weekend. I went down for a...
And how is he?
He is Orlando. What was his name from high school? Spence? Orlando Odell?
His name was... yes.
Arlen.
Yeah. Arlen Odell, but we called him Orlando Odell.
Orlando. Anyway, so I was down in Orlando for a convention with Ruby Tuesday, who was one of my big clients. And so I was down there, and it was like 40 degrees when I left Chicago, and it was like 97 when I got to Orlando.
And oddly enough, I got there and we had free passes to go to Universal, which I didn't get a chance to go to, but they had like Halloween Horror Nights. They had like a Stranger Things like haunted house. They had a Michael Myers Halloween haunted house, and I didn't get to go.
Do you still have those tickets?
I still have the ticket, yeah.
Are they good through, like, say, middle to end of February?
Are you going to be in Orlando?
I actually am. We're going on a
seriously?
family vacation to Disney World for a week and then a Disney cruise.
Dude, I will send it. Seriously, I'll send it to you.
All right, yeah.
115
Hey guys,
bucks.
just to remind you guys, we are doing episode 100 of the Fortress of Nerditude.
There you go. Anyway, and so it was fun to be there. I actually partied with some folks from NRD Capital, which is a private equity firm that owns Ruby Tuesday. So after this big awards banquet, we went up to the loft condo, whatever, and partied till about 1 o'clock. And I got this note back the next day from the head of NRD Capital that said, "You are the most fun, sober person I've ever met." And I was like, "Baby, I'm high on life." So it was a good compliment. I was impressed with my club soda drinking.
I like he was like, "I've never met anyone that's cool if they're not drinking."
That's right, exactly.
I'm probably the least fun drunk person when I'm drunk, so that balances out well.
Are you an angry drunk,
Match
Stu?
made in heaven.
No, I'm actually fun. I don't get any certain way when I'm drunk. I just have a good time.
But you're drunk now.
But I was trying to make it. You know what, man? I don't appreciate that attitude.
And you've got no pants on.
Well, they can't see that, but I'm glad you can.
Oh, I can see so much. And then lastly, we actually bit the bullet. So on Saturday, my kids begged and pleaded and begged, and I finally did it. I bought
a second car?
I bought a replacement hamster for the hamster Pipsqueak that passed away, and I don't know why I did it. My gosh, it's already keeping me up at night. They're nocturnal beasts, you know. But no, anyway, things are good, though. Life is good, and it is just awesome to be back with you guys. So, Stu, thank you for having me again. Thank you for keeping the seat warm for me, and it's fun to join you again.
It's a much nicer seat these days.
I don't know why it's so
nice
warm.
and
It's actually
cushy
uncomfortably
and-
warm. What did you do?
Chickpeas. Lots of chickpeas in my diet.
Keeps you regular. So, what about you? What about you guys? I mean, all about me. What about you guys?
Stu, what's going on, man? What's new with you?
This week today I got some unfortunate news. A family member of mine had passed. I wasn't super close, but it was a really awkward family situation, as is like for my family. And he actually passed away 2 weeks ago, so that was awkward and strange. And I'm glad to share that awkwardness with you. Yeah, it's.
Can we ask questions? I feel bad.
No, I've already done the question and answer bit for a few people today, but so that's just that just gets my hide, and it's not so much it happens, and I'm sad for the loss, but I can't help but focus on the whole 2 week issue, and that's really kind of eating my lunch. So I'm glad to be here having fun and getting that off my plate. So that's done and there. Work stuff, just going along. I am going back to Tennessee for some business this weekend.
Going back to Fort Knoxville?
Yes, Fort Knoxville. Oh, nice. Just, kind of business as usual. We're still feeling good and not sick, which is a huge improvement over 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Morgana's been back at it full force, and she's just as awesome as always. She got her Halloween costume. She went to her mom's for the weekend. She's going. She's actually, for the first year, she's going for a staple, and she's going to be a witch.
Wow!
But she's got a really fancy witch costume, and she's really excited. Halloween is by far my most favorite holiday, and it's because of the trick or treating. I had my older daughter. I went through all that a few years where I didn't have it after she had grown up a bit. And so now I'm right back in the thick of it and going trick-or-treating. 7-year-old is perfect age. She's getting to be where she's not scared by the haunted noise houses, which she wouldn't even get up to the porch before. She's okay with absolutely diving in with both hands when someone tells her to go ahead and take all she wants. So
Did she ever take the bowl and just run? You're like, good girl. You
No,
made
we
me
did
daddy
have-
proud.
The last place that we trick-or-treated at last year, I remember they asked us to take the bowl, the whole thing.
Really?
So we took the whole bowl.
And the bowl itself? Like, this is a nice piece of Tupperware, actually.
Yeah, pretty much. I've still got it up in my cupboard.
I didn't mean literally.
No, they did, so it was fine. The housekeeping thing, as I mentioned before, I've got a housekeeper. She came back last week, and it's so nice because I can actually. It's not that I need someone else to help, or someone else to do all the cleaning. It's that it makes it easier for me to keep up with it. And right now, that is not an aggravation, and that's so nice.
That is awesome.
So I got to catch up on everything last night, caught up with everything half an hour before I expected to, and so that was cool. And then...
So, Stu, can I ask a question?
No.
So, anytime I think of Housekeeper, I always think of the scene from Goonies when there's like the Hispanic. Have you seen Housekeeper?
Yeah.
Where he's like, and Corey Feldman is like, and you put the drugs and you separate them in each of this, and you put the body up in the attic. And is that kind of what happens at your house with the Hispanic housekeeper?
Nope. Nope. She's just regular Clearfield resident, and she's very ADD though. So every time I go downstairs or whatever, because she comes and cleans when I'm working, because I work from home, and so I'll come down occasionally or whatever, make lunch and whatnot, and she's working. And she'll oversell something that she cleaned. She'll like go on for days about how she got this one stain off of the cupboard door or something like that. And then without any segue whatsoever, start talking about her grandkids. And she's very nice, but I just kind of casually go back up into my office while she's talking because she'll never stop.
You just like slowly back up, just like a bear. You're like, I'm just going to walk away.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is. Yeah, but it's nice. Oh my gosh, it's so nice.
Do you pay her by the hour?
Yes.
That's why.
That may
She's like
be
an
true.
attorney.
Yeah. And then, well, there was something else that I was actually going to share.
You should wait.
I kind of have that feeling.
You should wait.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that. I have a little foreknowledge. I think you should wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I'm wrong later, by all means, we can loop back around to this. But
I have a feeling no matter what happens, that thing that you have in your pocket is going to segue into some news. So
it's a banana, so how are we going to segue?
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure we're going to reach the mature rating on iTunes after that. So.
I agree.
My week has been really interesting. I went out with my motorcycle club to a haunted house this weekend.
Nice.
Fear Factory, downtown Salt Lake. It's like 5 stories up. You end up going and.
Did you guys walk through and scare all the people that work there?
There was a little bit of that. So the funny thing is like you can. We had the VIP tickets that got us like right in, so we didn't have to wait in line. And then you can pay extra money so like the people can like reach out and grab you and try to harass you or whatever a little bit more
to pay for those insurance policies.
Right, and I had no interest in doing this. And the girlfriend of one of the guys in our club is like super paranoid and scared already. And so one of the guys with us, he paid the extra money for all of us so we could all get handled. And she's like, no. She's like, no, I can't do it. And it was like freaking out. And so, of course, we're all like making fun. I was like, are you scared of heights? And she's like, yes. I'm like, that we're going 5 stories up and that we're going to be walking over this grate where you can like see down.
Cruelty.
And I had no clue that actually was a real thing in this, and I was just making it up.
There's a tightrope
and
in
then
this?
and then we got to that part, and you actually walk across this grate where you're looking 5 stories down to the concrete below, and I was like, ha ha. Sorry, I'm a jerk. My bad. But they tried to roughen me up a little bit. Like, I don't know what it was. I mean, maybe where I was in the group, but they'd like always like kind of come around and try to like grab my shoulders and like try to jostle me. But of course, like I was playing it up. I was like, no, you got to go a little lower. And I'd say that most times they just let go. And then this one guy like grabbed me around the waist, and I was like, that's the good spot. And then that's when he let go, and I was like, I got you. But it was, it was fine. It was a good time. We had a lot of fun. We took the kids to a pumpkin patch this weekend. We got to meet up with my aunt and uncle and my cousin, and we went to that pumpkin patch and we picked out pumpkins, and they rode the slide, and we did a corn maze, which of course we got lost in and was in that thing for like way too long. The kids just had a good time, man. Like they got these pumpkin or apple cider donuts.
Nice.
I had a few of those, unfortunately, but they were delicious.
We've talked about this.
I know, Stu. I know. It was a bad weekend, okay, man?
I actually went shopping and got carrots, celery, and and snow peas for my snacks.
Well, look at you. Snow peas and carrots.
Yeah.
I've been doing that all dang year, man. I had 3 donuts.
You inspired
off
me,
the wagon.
but now...
But I had a good day today, so that's all that matters. But yeah, a lot of fun with the kids this weekend. Went over on Sunday to my mom's house. She had knee surgery recently, and so I went over and made her dinner. Had some chicken teriyaki stir fry and some veggies, and then a little bit of rice, and then we had some like sliced apples and a little bit of caramel sauce for a little snack dessert. But yeah, it was really, really, really good. So good week. Man, I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy that like it's episode 100. Like we have done 100 episodes of this podcast. This
Hold on. You, sir, have done 100
that
episodes.
That is
of
correct.
podcast.
Very, very good.
Yes. This is your baby. Make no mistake, and I'm glad to be a part of it. And Steve, I know you are as well.
Absolutely.
But you are the powerhouse of this. This is your whole
brainchild,
idea.
man. Mm-hmm.
This is your stuff. You need to give yourself a great big pat on the back, or else I'm going to reach over there and do it for you, buddy.
Lower.
Yeah.
Lower.
That's the spot.
Make yourself.
I paid extra for this.
Yeah, it is. It's something I've been super fortunate to do, and something I've loved doing. I was talking to someone over the weekend and kind of talking about this, and I said it's 100 episodes. I haven't missed one yet. And I said, eventually something's going to happen, and that's, I'm not going to be able to go unbroken for 200, 300, 400, who knows? But so far, so good, man.
Hey, man, maybe there's a category in Guinness Book of World Records for something like that.
Yeah, it's probably held by like Joe Rogan or, Mark Maron or someone who's done podcasts for like 20 years.
I'm sure they probably do a repeat every now and then.
That's true. Right. Maybe. Good to know.
Syndicate.
Yeah, anyway, man, 100 episodes. We've got some fun stuff planned for tonight. I'm looking forward to it. But you know what, Stu? Before we get to the crazy stuff that we got planned, there's something we do every week that I think we still need to do this week.
Oh, you better believe it. We're not going 100 episodes without killing some Bothans tonight. Slaughter!
Time to murder some Bothans.
Kill.
I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right, Stu, we have sufficiently murdered Bothans once again this week. What do you have for me in Rebel Intelligence?
Well, I think we didn't necessarily kill Bothans so much as sicked Jason Voorhees on them.
That was nice. I like that.
Yeah. So we had mentioned before that good old Iron Fist was getting the axe from Marvel, and that Marvel and Netflix. Yep. This was definitely a new thing that. There's been no precedent for this. So far, all the Marvel stuff has kept going, even though Iron Fist Season 1 wasn't all that great. They did renew it for a Season 2, thinking that, they're probably going to at least keep some cohesion between, like, the Defenders. But Iron Fist went away. They did say that, they had more in store for him, but, the season itself was canceled. Sadly, what I did not expect to have happen out of this was that Luke Cage is also getting the axe.
Sweet Christmas.
Yeah. They had actually already had announced that they were going to have a third season before. Unfortunately, that is not going to happen.
Any real reason why?
Not really. I mean, the vaguity of it all. Let's see. I did have some notes, but yeah, I mean, it's just not really doing well, I guess. Their quarter 2 earnings report that, they were going to have a future for other stuff despite Disney Fox merger. I've actually looked through this a couple times trying to find some details on this, but the one thing that's really kind of important to note here is while they kind of gave some silver lining to Iron Fist, there's nothing mentioned about keeping Luke Cage involved in things.
Really?
So
I really liked that first season, and I'm behind a little, so I haven't got to the second season, but I heard good things about it.
Yeah, and I mean, Luke Cage actually did really well, and the second season was actually much more cohesive than the first, and it did better than expected. So, yeah, I mean, just reaching out, but
I wonder if part of it has to do just with Netflix internal financials, because I remember reading something just the other day about how Netflix has taken out a couple $1 billion loan to
Right.
pay for some more original content, but that their actual value has been going up and up and up, and that they just added like 7 million subscribers this last quarter. And maybe they're just focusing more money on their own originals versus like licensing stuff from other production houses.
Well, that's just it, though. Is it's not just licensed from Marvel. Marvel actually, I mean, this is a Marvel Studios production as well, and they're
Right.
definitely in for a pound. So it's not like Netflix is taking on the whole burden of financial ownership here themselves. So mystery to me, I don't know. I mean, Marvel is doing really well, especially after Infinity Wars. And Luke Cage is definitely not a character. I would have actually honestly expected Jessica Jones to
Get
go
axed
away
first.
before Luke Cage did.
And what season is Jessica Jones in?
Jessica Jones has also had 2 seasons. There is going to be a 3rd season that's already started production. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with like the Defenders or
Punisher?
Punisher has season 2 around the corner.
Yeah, okay.
That's like just I think it was in March. I could be wrong on that, not looking at that. But yeah, I mean, and so another thing though is that there have been other, one of the things that we're probably all familiar with is that there are definitely different dynamics for the superhero teams. So the Defenders we already saw in that incarnation, and that's not the only incarnation of the Defenders. You know, people come in, go out.
Right.
We've seen different people share between X-Men and Avengers throughout the comics. So maybe they're just trying to kind of come in with a new wave. There are some things boiling that I can't really spoil for the end of Iron Fist Season 2 that may be tying into some things. There's definitely a lot of speculation and notes. So who knows what's around the corner? But I'm sad. I would like to have seen a season 3 of Luke Cage.
Yeah.
But dun dun dun.
Yeah. So in some other related, like not canceled news, but delayed news, just recently we found out that the Flash movie by DC has been slowed down a little bit. It's still going to happen, but it's been delayed. And they said that a big reason is because the Fantastic Beasts series stars Ezra Miller as one of the, kind of main characters in there. And so he's currently doing the second one's getting ready to release here in just a little bit. But then I think the production schedule for the third movie got pushed back a little bit. So then it slowed down the Flash movie. Because he contractually has to do that other one first, trying to, work around the time commitments. So that's going to happen. And then I just saw today that the Wonder Woman 2 that was supposed to be released this upcoming year in 2019, like November of 2019, has now been pushed back to June 5th of 2020. So that got pushed back further. And they said part of the reason they think is that it goes back to a summer date on the Warner Brothers calendar opened up, and the first Wonder Woman released in June of 2017 and did really, really well. And so they're kind of thinking, okay, there's that. Plus, you also got to remember you got Aquaman coming up in December, and then Shazam in April. Right. And then also in October of 2019 is that Joker movie that's like not related to the others, but that's going to come out. So that would have still been in theaters. And so maybe Warner Brothers is just moving things around to try to give a little more breathing room so they're not trying to oversaturate the market of DC. I think Wonder Woman 2, no matter what happens, I think is going to do pretty good business, but maybe they don't want that overshadowing some of these other films that may not do as well, so they don't want to have to compete against themselves.
Well, that's definitely a premium property, though. I mean, I have to imagine they're putting a lot of eggs in that Wonder Woman 2 basket based on the first and the success. But how many iterations of the Fantastic Beasts are there? Do you know? I mean, how many are they going to do?
So they've said they're going to do 5 movies total.
Oh.
So this is going to be the second one, and then they're going to have 3 more. But Ezra Miller's committed, I think, to all 5.
Busy man.
Yeah. So they're going to have to film that Flash movie, though, based around his schedule and, depending on, whatnot. I mean, there's a lot going on in DC right now. I mean, we just talked last week about how James Gunn is coming over and is going to do the Suicide Squad 2. You got Matt Reeves' Batman movie. You've got Birds of Prey, which is Margot Robbie coming back and playing, Harley Quinn. So there's a lot kind of going on, and they're all trying to figure it out. I just hope that we get a decent DC movie besides Wonder Woman. Shazam looks really good. It looks like a lot of fun, but I don't know, man. Still, that Aquaman's got me worried.
I don't know. I think so we've speculated that DC seems to be a little bit all over the place, and they haven't really formulated a really solid plan for how they're going to do things, and they keep switching things around. I really wish they would have just come out the gate and prioritized either the Flash movie or Wonder Woman 2. Either one of them would have given, making the assumption that they're going to be as good as we hope they will be, either one of them would have given DC some really solid momentum to carry them through the other more obscure movies. So all these delays make me a little bit trepidatious.
Yeah. Yeah, not helping us out there, I don't think.
Nope.
What else you got, Stu?
Oh, well, we've had some rather negative news about video game development industry with, Telltale going away. Boo.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a lot of fire for them and like not paying their employees before they shut down, that kind of thing, and those things are working themselves out. And it just seems like there's definitely some spotlight on the negativity around game development, and it's definitely a difficult job, and people have to do a lot, and they have to sacrifice a lot for themselves, a lot of themselves and their families to make things successful. And there's definitely been a move to kind of normalize the game development industry and how people work, and not having to work all these obscene hours and get all these contractors and never pay them benefits, blah blah blah. But Red Dead Redemption 2 recently had alluded in some comments that they were suggesting that it took 100-hour work weeks to make the game. Of course, initial reaction is like, yeah, holy crap, who the heck wants to work 100 hours? That's, you are definitely killing your people in the process. And the internet, of course, reacted appropriately, as it does with over-sensationalizing the whole entire thing.
No,
it's become a witch hunt.
Come on.
No, that's what we're here for on the internet. That's our purpose. But, so anyway, and now I'm drawing a blank. Oh my gosh.
So they have to do damage control right off the bat.
Yeah. So this was the company co-founder Dan Houser that had made the comment. So Rockstar has Rockstar, the publisher, the producers, the developers of Red Dead Redemption 2. They have come out to clarify, basically stating that that the finished game includes over 300,000 animations, 500,000 lines of dialogue, many more lines of code. They made about 70 versions of the trailer and TV commercial for the game, plus many more for the editors, and they make lots of suggestions, but basically that it's not that they're working their entire staff to do so. It's their senior writing team who've been working on the game for 7 years, which are like 4 people, Mike Unsworth, Robert Humphreys, Laszlo, and Dan Houser, who just, they feel so passionate about this that they want to make this game the best that they absolutely can, and they were never asked to work 100 hours. That's what they felt they needed to put into it to get there. Now, having some experience with that, and it's not actually developing a game, but I did develop something of a game when I was going to school for this stuff, and a lot of people that I talk to and a lot of people that I know in the industry, you definitely get invested in this. You see 7 years of something, you want to see this to the finish line. We saw Cory Barlog and his comments and his approach to God of War, and this is a passion for people. Most people do not get into video game. Nobody gets into video game development going, gosh, I'm looking through the want ads. Let's see, I could be a landscaper. I could develop games. I could work at Burger. Oh, I could develop games. It's not just an open opportunity that, hey, I'm going to jump in. People are passionate. They want to do that. So it doesn't surprise me at all that senior people in this company want to put in that time to get it over the finish line and get this into people's hands and to have it be a masterpiece, that people want to see.
It's kind of funny though. It's kind of ironic is when when we were kids, it was always like, what do you want to do? I want to be a video game tester. That was always like the thing, right? 100 hours. You're like, I'd actually like some more work-life balance. I'd rather be an attorney or maybe work for a investment banker, 80 hours a week.
The interesting thing is, and I heard some other people talking about this last week, is that other industries like the music industry is the same thing. Like they've got to get an album out, they've been working on it, but then all of a sudden, like, for whatever reason, like their date gets moved up and they got to come up with a few more tracks to put on an album to fill it out. And it's like, it just becomes crunch time and they've got to work and they got to put in the hours. And so I feel like it's in a lot of industries, it's like that. I mean, I know with what I do for work, a lot of times it's an 8 to 5 type of job. But then if there's problems that arise after hours and I've got to put in extra time, that has to happen. Sometimes we'll do like a big migration between data systems or, going from one platform to another, or we're going to move a server room. And then I've got to work all weekend, 14, 15-hour days after I just worked, my 40, 45 hours. And then I drop in another 45 hours and it's a 90-hour, 100-hour work week. It's not all the time, but in crunch time, that happens, and sometimes you just have to make that sacrifice, to get a project across the finish line.
Well, the industry I work in, and I work for clients, and normally we work 40 hours a week, and I'm responsible for a lot of people, and I would never want to ask anybody to work over 40 hours a week, or, maybe 45 if it's, some stuff going on. But it's a decent thing, and I believe in work-life balance, and the people that work for me that get that. But when you need to work extra hours to get something done, you start to see people's true colors and work ethic. And you get to understand the people that really are focused on being successful in their careers and doing the right thing for the clients. There are people who are still so committed to their families that they absolutely insist, that they keep it down to 40 hours a week. And you have to work through that. But there are times when people need to do it. Fortunately, I've never been in a situation where we didn't have enough people that stood up to do that we couldn't get it done, and I had to demand that. Right. But I've been the guy, and I'm never afraid as a leader. I'm never afraid of putting in as much time as anybody who works for me. But I'm passionate about what I do, though, and I just, if they force people to work 100 hours a week, I would be upset too, and I would think that they're a poor company. And you had mentioned something there, Spencer, about the music industry, and it's very similar for the video game industry, that this is how independent studios emerge. You have this tyrannical development company who overworks their people under benefits, doesn't give them their bonuses, whatever the case may be, and suddenly you've got musicians that are opening up their own studios at the end of their contracts, so they have control over that. Video games happen the same way, but I don't think that's a case that we're seeing here, and I just see passion in the leadership to get things done.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully it all pans out for them. Red Dead Redemption 2 is probably just going to be a little indie game. Probably, a few people play it,
Yeah, I didn't even hear of the first one. I don't know. What is this too? Why did they start out as a sequel if there's no first? Come on.
Weird. Learn math, guys. Learn math. Come on. Get your act together. Okay, the last thing I've got that I found was really interesting is, so how we talked about the Han Solo movie, Solo? And we talked about...
Wait, was that Han Solo movie Solo or Han Solo movie Solo?
It was the Han Solo Solo movie?
With Solo cups.
Yes. So this is really interesting. We had a conversation and I said, it took me a good half hour, 45 minutes to, into the movie to stop looking for Harrison Ford and just try to buy in, and that this, Alden Ehrenreich is supposed to be Han Solo. Well, apparently some, let's say overzealous fans just couldn't get with it. And so they basically used some very intelligent AI to clip in Harrison Ford's face from when he was younger and edit him into the movie. And
nice.
you can go
awesome.
onto YouTube. It's under a channel called Derp Fakes, where you can see a young Harrison Ford basically in this movie, or in this little trailer for it. And they basically used kind of the same deep learning AI that was used to kind of erase Henry Cavill's mustache in the Justice League, right? Because, they had to spend $25 million to do this, but these guys used kind of that same trickery. And listen, Super Friends, go spend a couple minutes, go to Derp Fakes on YouTube's, go to their channel and check this out. It's surprisingly pretty good. I liked it quite a bit.
I'm actually going to pause the podcast right now so that we can all go check it out. Wow, that was
right?
awesome.
Wow. Hope they didn't spend 100 hours a week to do that. No, it was good. I liked it.
Yeah, go check that out, Super Friends. But that's the last thing I had in Rebel Intelligence. Stu, are you tapped?
Yeah, I mean, good grief. We've done 100 episodes of this stuff. Those poor Bothans, they're dead.
Yeah, crunch all you want.
Rest
we'll
in
make
peace,
more.
you Bothans.
Infinite supply of
Infinite supply of Bothans. Okay, so last week we didn't do what we typically do. We had a conversation on episode 99. We talked about how the X-Men could be introduced possibly into the MCU coming up. We're going to hold off on that question till episode 101, so we'll ask that question next week. But this week is all episode 100. It is all about the Super Friends. It is all about you, our community, those of you that come out week after week and listen to the show. And so we wanted to kind of talk to you and hear from you. So we've asked you for questions, and you guys have poured in questions and poured in messages, and we're going to go through those. We're also going to talk a little bit about kind of where the podcast started, kind of where it's at now, where we want to go forward in the future. And we'll kind of talk some memories, just kind of celebrate
memories.
The podcast.
Like the corner of my mind.
So let me ask you a question here, Steve. We started this thing. We recorded the first episode, obviously, almost 2 years ago, and it's been a little while. It's been kind of a crazy ride. When we started out, what did you think of the whole idea of doing a podcast? When I first started talking to you, probably about 6 months prior to actually even recording.
I thought it was a crazy idea that would never take flight, like the internet and things of that nature. No, it was a shoestring budget, and we started out with two bright-eyed, bushy-tailed guys.
Yeah, I really wish you would have washed those shoestrings before I inherited them.
Yeah, right.
Smelly. That was the smell you smell.
Velcro, what a ripoff.
Oh boy.
So you got it. So what I thought that honestly, like, our family would be the only ones that would listen. To be perfectly honest, I'm like, we'd have some fun, have some laughs. Others might not laugh with us, and but I think it was even after that first episode, and your brother called me or texted me and said, I listened to the podcast, I laughed my butt off, and I was like, wow, this was something. So it was after that first episode.
I was gonna say, like, I actually went back and listened to the first episode over this last week. I've been listening to some of the old stuff and kind of sampling some things, looking for some audio that I thought we'd play.
Vinyl.
Yeah, and let me tell you, we've come a long way, baby. The audio quality and how things sound now. I want to play this for you. So I want to play for the Super Friends the actual intro to episode 1. And by all means, like, if you're here listening to episode 100, which is tonight, it sounds very similar. I think we kind of had the idea of the content down, but the audio quality was definitely different. So let's give it a listen. Welcome to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot, as always, is Steve Madura.
Heyo.
We are two best friends. Despite being husbands and fathers, we just kind of refuse to grow all the way up. Thanks for joining us. We're glad you're here. This is episode number 1, the beginning.
Hey guys, how are we today? Good times.
All right, episode 1. I feel like this has been coming for a long time, and I'm glad we're finally getting there. We're doing it.
Yeah, it's a bucket list.
Yes. So to kind of give you a heads up on how this is going to work and what our podcast is, we're going to talk about things that we enjoy, things that we're interested in, movies, music, video games, books, kind of whatever really floats our boat, things that are interesting in nerd and pop culture. So we may talk about Doctor Who. We could talk about Star Wars. Well, okay, we're definitely going to be talking about Star Wars.
That's right. Yeah.
But we're going to talk about things, Star Trek, Star Wars, anything that kind of fits in that realm of nerd and pop culture.
And I think in just life in general, just how that flows into our lives, and you'll learn a little bit about us and about what we do and who we are, and all that.
Yeah. So, all right. So, Steve, listening back to episode 1 when we first were introing what the podcast was going to be, what's your takeaway listening back that far?
My takeaway is it sounds like it's the beginning of like an insurance seminar. It's like, this is the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, and a whole life plan will cost you $300 a month. No, it was definitely gravel. I mean, audio quality definitely. I mean, it's like Tracy Ullman Simpsons to like, you know, the most recent season we've had. So
that's a good comparison.
You're definitely going to get that, but no, it's you know, but it had something. It had a little je ne sais quoi. It had a little, you know.
So
there was
so
promise
the funny
there.
thing is like I went back and I listened, and like I have markers. I know exactly when I upgraded your microphone. I know exactly when I figured out what room you were sitting in and got you out of that concrete box.
It was called my bathroom on the toilet. Multitasking,
Right.
baby. What's up?
But yeah, like going back and listening to that. I mean, Stu, you jumped in, you know, much later into the podcast. You listened to that.
I'm a spring chicken.
Would you have wanted to have been a part of a podcast that sounded like that?
Oh, that's. I can't.
Bit of a loaded question.
No, I wouldn't have. Honestly, I'm sorry. I can't not be honest here, but it sounds rough. It definitely sounds like you definitely knew that you wanted to do something, but not quite how to approach it yet.
Yep, that's fair.
The quality obviously has come quite a ways. The sound quality was like I'm picturing, you know, the opening intro of Fallout with the scratchy music and stuff in the background.
Right.
And I think, but what I take away from this isn't necessarily so much about what it was back then, because it doesn't really matter what the quality was like, or it doesn't really matter that you didn't necessarily have, you know, cohesion around the message yet. Is that you took a leap.
Yes.
And you went into it, you dove into it, you insisted that you were going to do it, you kept at it. And now, I mean, I dare to say, without, you know, with just the reality of what the situation is, that this is a quality podcast, and you are not just a voice on this, you also do the editing, and it's come a long way. And I'm glad that I've upgraded my mic since I started as well. I think we have a good format. I think there's a good flow of things, and you definitely, leading the helm, you have a clear direction that you want to take the show, and that shows 99 episodes later after the first, that it's grown into what you wanted it to be.
And I love as well, Stu, that it started out very broad. I mean, obviously that intro was like, hey, we're going to talk about books and podcasts, and it's really kind of funneled down into what it is now, you know.
Into fatherhood nerds.
Right.
Ferds is what we call it.
You know, it's funny that you say that, Stu, because it was one of those things where I kind of knew what I wanted it to be in like a generalized kind of form.
Yeah.
I got to a point where I said, okay, I found some intro music. I kind of knew the format and kind of had an idea of the format. Like I wanted to kind of, you know, I wanted to bring people in and let them see our lives a little bit, because I figured if they got to know us, they were going to want to listen to us, and they're going to care about us as people, or at least hopefully people would,
right?
You know, other than maybe our moms. But then it was the idea of, you know, the rebel intelligence, and then some sort of a discussion about something, and like loosely I had it, but you're right. Like we did kind of just take a leap, and then we kind of, you know, started fine tuning as we went to now it's this well-oiled machine.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you said something there very specific about letting people know us. And I know you and I had talked about this, and I don't know if you're ready to talk about this, but I'm just going to jump the shark here and go right into it anyway, because I'm also a co-host of this podcast.
By all means.
One of my favorite, my favorite episode, having recorded it, was the video game addiction episode. And that was just... Part of that was me, and this is like, even thinking about it, I get a little choked. Part of that was me kind of opening up and telling my story and why I'm a video game addict and how that kind of played into my life, and some very dark parts of my past played into that. But it was really opening up and letting myself be vulnerable, letting the Superfriends know who I am, where I came from, and literally letting them get to know me. And the response we got for that episode was outstanding and crazy. It was
fantastic.
And it filled me. And I mean, that whole letting people get to know you is a real thing. It's not just, a scapegoat to say, that's what I want to do with a podcast and be all generic and vague. Because when you do let yourself be known who you really are, people definitely respond to that. And Superfriends, thank you so much, because you did. And I love this podcast for that.
Stu, you hit on something just there that, your favorite episode was when you were able to be more vulnerable and let people in and let the Superfriends get to know you. And I think back, there was the episode where Steve, had his farewell and had to say, listen, my dad's going through a lot. I almost lost my dad. And I've got to take care of my dad, and I've got to make that a priority. And I need to make sure I'm, making my family a priority. And I'm kind of being spread too thin. And Steve was just very open and honest, and very vulnerable. And we got a lot of great reaction from the Superfriends. I know I've had some moments where I've opened up and I've talked about the death of my father and what it meant to me and how it affects me and how I still, every day think of him and wonder. Am I doing a good job as a father to my two boys? And I can't talk to him about that. So I think we've all kind of had these moments where we've opened up and been vulnerable. I never, when I started this, I never would have imagined that those conversations would be conversations that would end up getting looped into this podcast. And I'm grateful that they have.
Father's Day would be close to that, because that was, and it's not about whining, right?
No.
We're not doing the podcast to get attention and woe is me. It's just, it's relevant to the topic at hand, and it's stuff that other people can either identify with, or like we heard people having conversations about, and the feedback from Superfriends on what that means to them. And the question of the week related to those things. I mean, it's all good conversation, and that's what this is really down to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love as well that not only on the I guess the more personal and intimate parts of our lives, because I think that has been my favorite part of doing this, and being able to hear from other, Superfriends and things they're going through, somebody just got married or so, whatever. It was also a respite for my soul to be able to come down to my basement once a week, get on the phone or get on the computer, the podcast with my best friend, and just be together. Just, the wonderful thing of the internet, right? That we can be together, and that this thing we could be silly, we could be whatever, but I wear a suit to work every day, and you got to play a certain role, but to be able to come down here and let what limited hair I have left down and just relax, it really has been a place of
You
solitude.
say that with two bald guys on the podcast.
Just wanted to rub that crap in. That's right.
Yeah, we could just be open and talk about abandoning our kids at school, that kind of thing. It's fun.
That's
So
right.
Steve,
That's
I've
right.
I've got an audio clip that I want to play. This is so I was thinking of some of my favorite moments, and a lot of them had to do with like laughing and a lot of like funny stuff. But there's a moment when you were talking about your son Carter, and you were talking about his well, let's just give a listen. What he does during his school time.
My son Carter, he's got a computer at school, and they all do, but every once in a while he'll like email me. And the other day he emailed me this picture of Beaker with like a computer that was on fire, and of course Beaker's like, "Mee!" It had this little face. And on a small crazy side note, today my son emailed me, and he emailed me this link to eBay, and he's like, "Dad, I found a car that I think you should buy." And I'm like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "First of all, what are you doing like on eBay at school?"
Right.
So, monitoring car sales. Do you have like a side business? You got a side hustle, son? And he's like, "It's only $1,300. And I click on the link, and it's this like white limousine.
Ooh,
And I'm
do
like,
it.
"What the
Do
heck?" He's like, "Dad, we could totally buy this." And it all spawns from this time that I had to get, I was traveling to Puerto Rico for business, and I had to go to the airport really early. And the only cab or whatever that I could get to come pick me up was like this limo. So this limo comes and it's like this like high-end brand new limo. It's got like all these like crazy disco lights inside. So I had him come out and sit. It was like 3 a.m. I had him come out and sit in it. And ever since then he's like, Dad, we need to buy a limo. I'm like, yeah, we're not already weird enough to have 4 kids in like a place that has like 1 kid per family. Now we're driving the limo, driving the kids off to school in a freaking limo.
You should do it. It's only 1,300.
I was like, son, where would we park that? And why aren't you doing math at school? He's like, it actually is part of math. So he told me later that they had a budget of like $6,000 for the month. They had to buy a car, get groceries, pay their utility bills. And I'm like, and my son buys a limo. That's right. Nice.
A white limo with the rims on it.
Yeah, that's right. And it said, when we went down to Vegas that one time when we tried to marry those 2 girls, and there was that picture of me on top of that white limo. What?
Dude, can you just back this story up a little bit? That one time when we went down to Vegas to marry those 2 girls.
You remember?
No, I don't. You're on your own.
Marcia Williams and Jennifer Shumway. Don't tell me you don't remember. The Chapel O' Love. But anyway, so I have a picture on top of a white limo that was not ours, and there was the license plate said something really funny.
It said like fancy or something like that.
Fancy, like macho, or like.
I have that picture somewhere.
If you find it, post that mother on our Facebook page.
Okay. I can find it.
I'll do the same. I'll search for some funny pictures.
Matter of fact, I know that I have it in the basement in a pile of photos from like around the college years.
Yeah,
it's sitting in a box. I know exactly where that photo is.
It's got to be. It's got to say like Maestro or something funny. Anyway, yeah. I digress. What's our main topic, man? We've been on this thing for over an hour.
What are we doing? Do you remember that one time when we went to Vegas to marry those 2 girls? Just the way, like, that's how you introduce the story about laying on some dude's limo and taking a photo.
It was all related to my son's eBay travails.
Do you remember that one time when we buried a body in the desert? Because we were looking for a gas station?
Ixnay on the body, eh?
Oh, man.
Oh
man.
Okay, so hold on.
What the freak was that?
Hold on. I have so many questions.
Oh my gosh.
First of all,
I'm like dying here.
Is there any chance that it was actually the Little White Chapel?
We couldn't actually end up finding it, Stu. We tried. It was before the days of GPS and smartphones, but
because I was actually I got married at the Little White Chapel.
Really?
Are you serious?
Did, yes.
By Elvis?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you are my hero.
No, that was my first wife and I. We ended up just eloping and we headed down to Vegas, and that's where we went. We didn't lay on any limos or anything though.
For clarification,
By
it
the
said
way,
royalty.
It said royalty
was the license
plate.
That's right. I love that clip, Steve. It's one of my favorites of just because it personifies the conversations you and I get into all the time, where we start at one point and within a few minutes we've digressed so far off topic, but we're still laughing and we just find it humorous and like, you know, that's one of my favorite clips of just goofiness.
That has to be one of my favorites as well, and I do love the fact that you bring it back to like, do you remember the time we buried those bodies when we were looking for the gas station?
I'm almost kind of glad I don't have those kinds of stories with Spencer.
Oh man,
right. Give it a few more years. You'll be burying bodies like they're Tic Tacs.
I have quite a few of those type of stories. Anyway,
I have bodies shaking around in my pocket. You can hear them.
That was great. I am crying right now.
So anyway, I thought that would be a fun little trip down memory lane to play an oldie but a goodie, something that stood out. But like we said, lots of great memories, lots of fun. But I want to hear from some of the super friends. I think we should read some of these emails and kind of see, questions we have and whatnot. And we can hit a bunch of these up because we got a lot of voicemails this week, fellas.
Oh boy.
So let's start over on the old email where we always start. And let's start with none other than Peter Christensen. He says, "Dear nerds, happy 100th episode. I'm all in for James Gunn writing/directing Suicide Squad 2. I liked the first movie. It had a cool look and characters, but its story and script were lacking. Both Guardians of the Galaxy movies had great scripts and plots, so hiring James Gunn turned Suicide Squad's biggest weakness into a strength. After rewatching the 2003 Daredevil, I also rewatched the 2005 Elektra and give it basically the same review. Cool mood and imagery, good story, good creative villains. Jennifer Gardner had the look and the moves. She had some serious clunky line delivery. I'm going to call Hulk 2003, Daredevil, and Elektra the MCU prequel trilogy with all of the shame that label carries." And it says, "Yeesh. After Googling, it looks like I forgot about the Tom Jane Punisher, 2 Fantastic Fours, and 2 Ghost Riders. No wonder people were excited about Iron Man."
Oh
all right, he says, "Here's my Centenny Fortress questions. How many Super Friends are there that listen to the show, to whatever degree you're comfortable with?" Let's start that. That's really hard to quantify, Peter, because we see numbers of downloads, how many people stream it on YouTube, Spotify, all the different locations where we are, people that play it through the website. So it's really hard to know how many Super Friends we have. But I will say the Super Friends we have are of the highest quality.
And don't forget the live studio audience as well.
Oh, that's true. That's true. They're just sitting back here waiting for the applause meter to go off.
Yeah, that's really my cat.
Right.
That's it.
Mr. Winkles.
He says, "Do you have any plans to expand the Nerdiverse? Sponsors, events, meetups, more crossovers?"
Sponsors would be great.
Yeah.
Just bring them
Sponsors would be awesome. It'd be nice to supplement a little bit of the hosting fees with some sponsorship money.
New microphone.
Yeah, a green screen, so maybe we could go live with some video.
Didn't Peter...
Maybe a limousine.
Oh, yeah, right, exactly.
$1,300 on eBay.
Done and done.
What was your
I was
question?
going to say, doesn't Peter work for what was it, Audacity for a while? No,
Amazon.
Audible. He worked for Audible for a while.
Well, Audible is part of Amazon.
They can't sponsor us? I mean, come on. They've got the chain.
I thought you were going to ask for Peter's his little side business he's got with all the jams and the jellies and the.
That's right.
What do you call it? It's
would also accept that sponsorship. Yes.
I can't remember. I'm trying to remember the name. It's going to fail me now. Peter, let me know next week. We'll talk about sponsorship.
Celestial, I guess spreads. I don't know.
No, it was something about like sweets and sticky jams,
preserves.
Yeah, it all sounds delicious.
Peter's Preserves.
I'm really hungry right now.
Innuendo.
Right? Yeah, we got it, Steve. It wasn't very subtle.
That's the name of my guild.
Yeah. As far as meetups, we've talked about that a little bit. We don't know how exactly that would work, but it's an idea. Crossovers, we definitely would like to. We'd definitely like to have some other podcasters come on, do some cross-promotion type stuff, some other content creators. I definitely think that'd be kind of a cool idea. His last question says, "I love the idea of the sidekick episodes where you reevaluate old movies. The Stranger Things episodes were also great. What's the plan for those?" Stu?
Well, we talked about Iron Fist.
We did.
We sort of have to get through it.
So that's the thing. They're definitely sidekicks are not abandoned. I was actually having a conversation with Brita about it just like a day or two ago, talking about how, because I love Survivor and the Survivor's back on. I was like, maybe I'll do another sidekick and talk about Survivor with someone who wants to talk Survivor.
Oh, I'll do that, but it's got to be a season because that's a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, for sure. But I do like the idea, Stu, that you did bring up the other episode, maybe 2 episodes ago, about going back and reevaluating some old movies, because obviously, as we've seen for the last few weeks, Peter Christensen's going back and reviewing the MCU prequel trilogy for us and giving us his weekly correspondence, if you will. And, I think that'd be fun.
Fresh off the news deck, it's Peter Christensen.
So I'm over here watching the Daredevil movie.
Peter doesn't sound like that, by the way. He's been on the show. He's been a previous guest host, but Anyway, Peter, thank you. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for being here every week and always sending me an email and getting that in. Love it. Let's move on. Brad Kabowski says, "Hey, nerds. I just want to congratulate you on 100 episodes of great content for all of us super friends. I have a question for you guys, as I want to know what is a goal you both want to achieve in the next 100 episodes. Any specific people you'd like to interview, or is there any event you'd really like to go to? Here's to 100 more episodes, and may the force be with you always."
Corey Barlog.
I would love to interview Corey Barlog.
100%.
Oh, gosh, yes. A goal I think I want to see happen is I want to see if Stu and I can get to San Diego Comic-Con.
Right. That's what I was thinking. Get there.
That'd be nice.
The Mecca.
That is the Mecca.
However, we may have to do like a Patreon or like donate plasma or something to raise some funds.
Well, they have like what is it, Indiegogo or whatever? Kind of like do some crowdsourcing.
Yeah, that's an option. I like that. But I think that would be a goal I'd like to do. Is I'd like to get to San Diego Comic-Con, and I'd like to get credentialed as press.
I was just going to say, actually doing a panel on FanX.
I'm in the works of trying to maybe contact Brian Brandenburg or some of the other people, and I want to do a panel. I actually have 2 ideas for panels.
I would say we should do a live episode from FanX.
Ooh,
A live episode panel.
We could do that.
Ooh. The plot thickens.
And we could also arrange for our super friends to come and meet us, and we could have it be a meetup and a crossover.
Oh, great.
event.
We're like jamming everything into one monster episode.
I mean, go big or go home, Stu. It's what we do.
Well, Spence, didn't the guys from Married to the Games do that? And that's why you and Josh went out to Nashville or something? A few years ago?
Yeah, Josh and I have gone back for the Married to the Games. They do a live episode for all their centennials, 100, 200, 300. Mm-hmm. We did talk about that. Stu and I talked about that briefly for 100. And first of all, we don't really have a space to do that in, so we'd have to find that space. Second of all, I would be surprised if my mom showed up, and she lives in town now. So, I know Josh would want to come, but it's like, it's in town. He's got kids. I'd have to convince him to leave. I mean, I don't know. It was an idea. We didn't follow it up, but anyway, a goal getting back to Kabowski's thing is San Diego Comic-Con, getting on a panel. Stu, I think that's a great idea. We've talked about that some. Someone else I'd like to interview. I don't know why, but I think it would be fun, is I would love to talk to like Nolan North or Troy Baker, some voice actors, from big popular game franchises and movies.
I want them to hook me up with a job.
Well, I mean, sure, of course. Who wouldn't want that? Speaking of movies and dialogues and voiceover acting, we've been known to do a little bit of accents on the podcast here from time to time.
That we have.
What are you trying to say, brother?
Exactly right, Bonesaw McGraw. I gotta say, Stu, I used to think that I had a decent to passable Macho Man until you busted yours out, and now I just want you to do all the Macho Man impersonations.
Yeah, that's strong to quite strong.
Thank you. I've been working on that for my whole life.
But Steve, there's one that I think you'll remember, and I think I got a little audio clip of this right here that we should listen to.
Uh-oh.
Do tell.
So it was like, and this is like a tribunal. So I had to do a self-review prior to this. It's a big deal. You get an hour, and it is like literally a conference room with a huge long table. And I met with like my 2 bosses, my direct bosses, a partner, the CEO, and the president. And so it's literally like this like Superman style tribunal of like guilty.
Oh, so it's we're talking Superman 1, right?
I did kind of like that.
Did you get a chance when they're giving you a review to be like, "You will bow down before me, Jor-El? I swear it. No matter if it takes an eternity, you will bow down before me, both you And your heirs! Did you get to do that?
Oddly, verbatim. That is exactly what. And then this huge mirror came down from the ceiling, and I was banished to the Phantom Zone. How did you know?
Well, just that tribunal guilty. I knew exactly what you were talking about.
Your face, if the viewing audience could see your face when you did that impression, holy crap. That would be like, I felt like Boo from Monsters, Inc. Like watching the dream. I'm like cowering in the corner of my basement right now.
I have tears in my eyes. I'm laughing so hard right now.
Oh my gosh. So no, it was nothing like that at all. But it was funny.
So I've done a lot of bad impressions.
But that is not one of them.
My Kermit, my Bill Clinton are pretty decent, but that General Zod, man, that one's a pretty good one.
I just have to imagine you like bust it out at like all random times, like your bill is wrong at the restaurant. You're like, you stand up, overturn the table, bust that mother out.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I love that clip.
That was great.
I also love the fact that
and
like
my
I just
review
don't
Spence is
care.
actually coming up in March, so if you could come out and help with that, that'd be great.
Oh yeah, baby, I'll help you get that raise and or imprison some people.
Fired, possibly incarcerated.
Yeah, sure.
Restraining order.
Episode number 200 from State Prison.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Johnny Cash.
Let's move on here to Facebook, and we got some Facebook messages. So we'll start with Caleb Albers. He says, "Hey guys, congratulations on the 100th episode. I got started listening a little later than most, but it's been great time. I love the topics you guys come up with week to week and the interaction we have week to week. I'm also a big fan of how we can have or share different opinions and still have a fun conversation. And that you guys will read whatever we post, even if it's something you guys don't necessarily agree with. It makes for a great atmosphere week to week.
Nice.
Some things I really liked through these first 100 episodes is the superhero spotlight you did on The Flash. I really think it's a cool way to introduce the backstory that not many people would know about, or a hero they may not be very familiar with or familiar at all. I'd love to see more of those later down the line. As for my question for you guys, how long are your recording sessions compared to the length of the episodes you release? Do you guys edit stuff out? And what ideas have you guys had for the podcast that you either haven't gone through with yet or are thinking about doing? Lastly, when's Stu going to be put on the Facebook banner? Love you guys. Love the show. Can't wait for the next 100 episodes." Okay.
There are a lot of questions
There
there
is
to
a lot.
answer.
So first off, I'm going to start with the last one he asked. I had some artwork done up that was finished a few weeks ago. It took a little while for the talented Adam Leonard to be able to do the artwork. He's got a lot of commissions and things. But that got to me a few weeks ago, and then I was waiting for today for the 100th episode to add Stu on. So if you go and look at our Facebook, our Twitter, our website, Stu is official and on all of our published material.
So I'm honored, even though I kind of knew it was coming down. And honestly, we talked about this, and I thought you were still waiting for me to send you a picture, and I had totally spaced that was an ask. So that was surprising. I saw the question from Caleb, and I'm like, oh man, that's all on me. But no, I was surprised to see that posted up there. I shared that with someone that I think we'll talk about here in a bit. And the comment was that it's basically, we had a little discussion about it, how similar we look in that. But yet, if you look at all the details are different.
Yes.
The eyebrows are different. The creases on the bald heads are different. The noses are different. Like, it's all different, and yet it's still there. And really, I mean, it's, bald guys with goatees, but there you go.
Right.
But it's weird, honestly, to see myself that way, because usually you get a caricature or something and it's overdone and embellished. Right. And that actually, I like that. It's just, it's a little unsettling.
I'm looking at it right now, Stu. Actually, it is a great likeness of you.
That's creepy.
I love Adam Leonard's work. I fell in love with his artwork, a few years ago, and It looks great. So let's get to a couple of these questions here. So he says, okay, the length of how long we record. So when Steve and I first started recording, we were probably recording 2.5 hours, and then we were cutting it down somewhere an hour and a half to 2 hours, just depending. Stu and I now, I'd say you and I usually, we get on and we don't take very long before we're ready to go, and then we pretty much record, and then when we're done, we're done. Like we don't record a lot of extraneous material that we end up cutting.
Well, to be honest here, I think that's kind of a bit of a problem, because I think the reason that we're so efficient these days is really my own time crunch, and I've had to ask that we kind of start on time and that we wrap it up quickly. And something that I think that's kind of come into this is like when we first started this, when I first joined the podcast, that was not the case. We actually had a really good ramp up time and really good discussion and catching up and being friendly with each other and stuff. And then we would laugh and joke about the podcast afterwards and talk about plans for D&D and all that stuff. And to be honest, I really miss that time. So, and I mean, this is kind of me to Spencer. And so I want to try to make an effort to kind of be able to do that more. I think you and I have become much better friends since we started this. And I definitely miss that, because I think that banter before and after the show, whether it's a part of the show or not, it comes out in the show.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
and I got to say, when Steve and I were doing this, sometimes we'd talk for like an hour and a half before we'd start recording, and then we'd record, and then we'd talk for like another hour afterwards, and like next thing I know, it's like 3 in the morning. Yeah.
Well, I have to say, Spence, some of the times I would find that early to midway through our stint, that a lot of the great material was actually never recorded.
It
was
is
just
true.
us talking either before or after, and I'm like, oh my gosh, why didn't we record this?
That's true.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
As far as editing stuff out, there's only been a few times when I've had to make some very specific edits. One time we had Peter Christensen on the podcast, and we had a conversation with him, and he mentioned something that might have been maybe proprietary information for his company. And he messaged me the next day and said, "Hey, I may not should have said something about that. Can you edit that out?" And I said, "Absolutely. That's, it wasn't like a big, talking point. It wasn't something, it was just kind of something he said in passing. And I didn't want to, get him in any trouble. So I made an edit there." There's also been a few times, there's been a few times that I have, okay, let me start this by saying,
Freudian slip.
I'm the kind of guy that when it comes to comedy, there's a line in the sand most people don't cross to try to get a laugh. And sometimes I just barrel past that line with reckless abandon, and I get kind of the, ooh, and it's like, oh, too far? And then usually if one person still laughs, I feel like I'm okay, which Steve laughs at almost anything I'll say, so I unfortunately go way too far sometimes. And there was a time or two where I had to go back and I'm like, did I just make a joke about that? Oh gosh, that's dark. That's really dark. And I've made an edit or two occasionally to save the ratings, and we want the show to be family friendly.
To save the children for a price of a cup of coffee. You can help save the children.
But yeah, so not usually. We don't usually edit much out, but occasionally we will from time to time. And like I said, we do try to keep it clean. As Stu says, occasionally we have some Utah swears, but nothing much harder than that.
Mother freak.
God darn it. There's one other point he makes there about the superhero spotlight. Yeah. With regards to the Flash, that was a lot of fun, and we both definitely enjoyed doing that. And we had conversation after that about doing that. I think it's really just a matter of figuring out good superheroes to do that. The Flash is easy. I think some other ones would be easy, but it's also about, things that we can know or things that have enough detail to make it worthwhile to discuss. So that's my take on it.
Let's listen to a voicemail. Let's mix it up a little bit. Let's
do it.
go over to our good friend Gabe Patillo.
Fortress of Nerditude. It's your boy Gabe Patillo from the Married to the Games podcast. 100 episodes. Welcome to being big boys in the podcast world. You guys made it. 100 is awesome. To a lot more episodes, man. You guys keep doing what you do. I want to congratulate both of y'all, but I mean, when we go get Stu on the website, I'm just saying. Anyway, from myself and the Married to the Games family, Tim Router, Ed Placencia, Chris McCracken, we're saying welcome to the club, baby. 100 episodes. Keep it going. Yeah.
Gabe, thank you so much for that message. That is awesome. Obviously, Stu is up on the website now, Gabe, so we're all good there. I'm glad that I took care of that earlier today. Over on Facebook, Karen Zacharias Gifford, my sister-in-law, says, "Congrats, you guys." Thanks, Karen. That's nice.
Short and sweet.
I know, right to the point. Let's go over to Twitter. Brian at BravesB_ says, "I'm not too good at coming up with questions, but I enjoy hearing you and Stu week after week. So keep it up and nerd on, my friends."
Presently nerding.
All the time, every day, all day.
Oh, yeah.
Rich Turpin, a good friend of mine, at Turpin Rich, says, "I've only listened to the last few episodes, but I really like the whole bit. I think you should keep doing what you're doing. I do think it's pretty awesome that Brita was on. I think more of the guests of that kind is a good thing. You guys are awesome."
We'll take it.
Thanks.
Sounds like a paid response. My gosh.
I know, right? Speaking of Brita actually called in and left us a voicemail. Let's give that a listen.
Hey, Fortress of Nerditude, this is Brita. I just wanted to call and say congratulations on 100 episodes. That's really exciting. I just want to tell you guys that it's been so much fun being a part of it. Thank you for having me when you do. It's been so much fun. Spence, I just wanted to tell you that I love you, and I'm so proud of you and how hard that you worked to keep this podcast going for the last couple of years. I know you put in lots of work. Doing prep and editing and everything else that you do. And so with that being said, I am wondering if you could share with the Superfriends, let them behind the curtain, so to speak, and kind of take them through your guys' process, what it is start to finish putting together Fortress of Nerditude. How do you guys come up with your topics, your recording, editing, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so I hope you guys have a great show. See you later.
That was a paid advertisement.
That's a paid advertisement.
Open the kimono, Spence. Literally.
Thank you, Brita. So yeah, let's let you see the Wizard of Oz. So, let's say take you through a whole episode. So basically, it starts off with. After we publish out an episode, Stu and I start gathering Rebel intelligence items. So as the week kind of goes on, we'll have an open document in our Google Drive that we share, and Stu will find some stuff he thinks is interesting that we may want to talk about. I'll find some things, and then usually we end up with maybe anywhere from like 8 to 10 kind of items, and then we end up paring that down. We usually talk before we jump on the podcast. And we pare that number down usually now to 6. It used to be 8. We get on a call. We use Google Hangouts. We record each of us record our own side of the conversation so that editing can go together. As far as discussions, Stu, usually we kind of just find something that's either topical, right? Or something that, maybe you or I have come across that sounds interesting to us.
Yeah, I mean, it's... I would love that to be more formulaic, honestly. But yeah, I mean, it's just, there's so many things that have already been talked about. And that's, I think, the key there is not, regurgitating the same material and doing the same thing that's already been done just in a different format. So some weeks it's difficult to come up with a new idea and there's nothing that's really going on. And that's to add, Spencer's got it kind of laid it out all nice and neat, but there's also sometimes some scramble. Try to come up with the last minute idea. And there's definitely some give and take too to that. It's not always split 50-50 lately with my time schedule and some other things going on still to come. Spencer's taken the lift mostly on the Rebel Intelligence, but there were some times when he was sick or other things that have gone on that I've had no problem doing that. I love contributing to the show. There have even been a couple like discussion topics that have been all mine and we've talked about, mostly when Spencer's sick as well. So I can carry the conversation.
I need to be sick more often, man.
You do. I like that. No, it's collaborative in that way, but ideally, you know, we have everything laid out kind of the weekend before. And...
Yep. So yeah, that's what we shoot for. Then we record Monday nights. Then usually I edit the podcast on my lunch break on Tuesday, or at least, you know, the majority of it on Tuesday.
That's the part of the process I'm not allowed to see.
That's the special secret, double secret curtain. And then usually sometime either Tuesday evening or maybe sometime Wednesday on a lunch break, I will get everything kind of loaded up so it's ready to publish out. Then I will make together some media images and then schedule them. And I try to remember to schedule all of the things, you know, the one that says, hey, we've gone live, the one that says, hey, it's the weekend, don't forget that we just went live yesterday. And then the one that says, hey, we asked you guys a question, we're looking for answers. And I try to schedule those. Sometimes I forget. I'm human. Now, Steve, if you recall, the first episode we did, it took me 5.5 hours to edit that thing. It was a nightmare. The first few were actually really long, and partially that's because of the software I was using, and also because I was trying to get rid of that dang echo that was coming from your side.
I was literally talking at my washer and dryer, which is probably resulting in the echo, yeah.
I think it was around episode 8 when I figured out, oh, you're sitting in a concrete room with nothing to deaden the sound, and it's just all that echo and that bounce back, and so we made some changes. But now it does not take me 5.5 hours. If Stu and I talk for, let's say, 2 hours, I can probably do a full edit and have it ready to publish in about an hour and a half of time. I don't always get that uninterrupted, but about an hour and a half. So I can do it a little less than a 1-to-1 ratio now.
Which is phenomenal. I mean, you think about just some of like the soft skills that you've learned just from, you know, as a byproduct doing this podcast. I mean, like, you know, doing imaging and using social media more, reaching out, networking. I mean, all of those things. I think that's fantastic. And I had no hand, similar to maybe Stu, I had no hand in any of the back. It wouldn't let me touch it, didn't trust me at the wheel, which I am glad.
that keeps the podcast his.
That's right.
Yeah, it's not that I don't trust, it's that it took me quite a while to figure out how to make it work.
Right.
And now he doesn't want to share the secret.
It just would take a while, baby. That's all I'm saying.
So let me ask a question really quick before we go to some more Super Friends. So we had done, Spence, a few... not rehashed episodes, but kind of some thematic episodes just based on the calendar. For instance, we did our Christmas back-to-back, Christmases, which is our Christmas, what was it, Fight Night or Christmas...
Christmas round 1, and then I think we did Christmas round 2.
Yeah. Right, exactly. So do you guys have any of, whether it's holiday-based or whatnot, that will be kind of more reoccurring themes?
Yeah, so for instance, like we did a Mother's Day episode, we did a Father's Day episode. We're probably going to do a Halloween episode. By the way, Stu, we're doing a Halloween episode next week. No scramble. This one's easy. We'll do stuff that's based around that. We'll do stuff that's like if we know a big video game is coming out, or like for instance, if we're going to do a movie club, and we've been talking about the movie Bohemian Rhapsody, which comes out like in 2 weeks.
Yes.
We're going to want to cover that.
By the way, Spencer, after the Halloween one, we're going to do the Bohemian Rhapsody one.
I think that's a good idea, Steve. I like that.
Too Stu.
So yeah, Steve. So we do kind of do those things. Someone in here, and I'll get to it a little bit later, asked us if we're going to do like a yearly wrap up, like maybe our favorite movie of the year, our favorite video game, and I think that's a great idea too, because it's kind of a gimme topic. Like we know we can do that, right around the New Year's time every year.
Yeah, we did that last year, and I think it was a good, well received. Everybody's in the spirit of lists.
We did a military themed one around Memorial Day.
Yep.
And so
that was good.
I did like that one, even though you said Terminator wasn't really a military themed movie, and I disagree slightly.
Oh boy, here we go.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, well, welcome to
love
what we're going to be
America,
talking
Stu?
about for the rest of the. Whoa. Considering I actually did not like Captain America: The First Avenger, I think I'm a communist somewhere. I don't know.
You bow down to the Red Skull. We know it's true.
That's right. Hydra.
Hail Hydra.
Hail Hydra. Okay, so let's go to some more questions over here. Patrick Novacell on Twitter at Nova Beyond says, "Do you have any early artwork of your logo? What's one of your favorite laugh out loud moments? How did you come up with the Superfriends? Why did I not start listening around till episode 80?" Okay, first of all, artwork of our logo. We have our new artwork of our logo is updated also by Adam Lennart. It's based on the artwork that my sister-in-law, Clarice Gifford, did for Steve and I originally. We kind of had some ideas. We kind of sketched something down. I should have kept the original sketch, but
that would've been awesome.
the idea, but I don't, I'm pretty sure I didn't.
Spence, do you remember though, like when she first did that, she gave us, several different iterations, and she had one with like a Hulk theme. So it was like, purple and green. One was Batman. So it was like blue and gray and black and yellow.
Yep.
I remember I showed them to all my kids, friends, and they all, predominantly
we ended
chose
up
the one
we ended up kind of going with the Superman kind of themed, kind of the red and blue kind of look. Also, I wanted colors that kind of stood out, and while I loved like a lot of the Batman colors, we did one was black and yellow, one was kind of like the gray and black. I felt like those kind of muted colors weren't going to set our logo that far apart from some of the other ones, like on iTunes and whatnot.
It turned out really well, and I love the new updated. So, he stood on the shoulders of giants. It was very good of your sister-in-law to do that. Very sweet.
Yeah. Laugh out loud moments. I mean, for me, it's the limo story with Carter trying to get you to convince you to buy a limo on eBay, and with the caveat that like whole section just was like, that's classic Steve and Spencer. Like we went down a rabbit hole and just like fully committed. But I love the fact that I loved Carter's ideas so much that I was really trying to get you then to purchase that.
I was like 62% going to buy one.
Dude, I still think you should. Let's see. The Superfriends. How did we come up with the Superfriends? That's actually fairly easy. I mean, obviously the podcast is called The Fortress of Nerditude, which is a takeoff of Superman's Fortress of Solitude. And then, of course, the Superfriends, cartoon was big when we were kids. Mm-hmm. And that's, Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman. And so I figured, instead of referring to our community as like listeners or downloadees or whatever, like I was like, no, this is, like Stu said, right? Collaborative. Like we want to interact with people. We want to have a community. And I was like, what better way than to have friends? And I think we actually used to just call them friends for quite a while back in the early episodes. And then somewhere I was like, why aren't we calling them Super Friends? Like, make this like the Super Friend cartoon show we grew up on. Everyone's a hero in their own right. Yep. And so that's kind of where that was born from. Patrick, as far as why you didn't start listening until around episode 80,
I have an answer. I have an answer to that.
Tell us, Stu.
It took a few episodes for word to get out that I was on the podcast.
Ooh,
oh, there we go.
Boom.
I got to say, though, Spence, going back to the earlier question about laugh out loud moments, some of the funniest times of those first few episodes were not during the episode at all. It was during the naming of the episode. Do you remember this? So we'd go through and we'd think about, what do we talk about? And suddenly I have no idea where Reginald Vell Johnson came from. But I remember we were like in tears. We're like, that is it. That is it. And every like that first probably half a dozen or dozen episodes, we talk about, what the name should be at the end of the, after we recorded. And once it hit, whether it was that night or maybe we'd share text the next day, because I think our second episode was Peeping Tom Time Traveler when we talked about Back to the Future. And I remember because all my friends were like, they love the first episode, then they see the title of the second episode, and I'm like, they're like, what is this kind of smutty trash?
Nice. My favorite moments, though, are because, Spencer, you have this all scripted. Like, I mean, pretty much where at the beginning of every episode, you give the same spiel. Yep. It's when you trip up on that. Every time, yes. I don't know why, because there's like that rubber band tension that the moment you break that script, it's amazing.
Falls apart.
And it's
horrible. Like I can't get it together. I'm like, I got to start over. I just got to start over. And I've done that a few times where we've had to take like 3 cracks at it. which actually kind of dovetails into a little clip I want to play. So you know how I always say what episode it is. I want to play a little clip of Sean Capri when he was on, because he highlighted something I thought was really funny. So we have a special treat here tonight on the Fortress of Nerditude. A guest of great renown, the Wayne Gretzky of podcasting, the greatest Canadian to have ever been born besides Wayne Gretzky. Sean Capri is in the house. Sean, what is going on?
Spencer, you know my mantra. I want to set the bar as low as possible. You can't compare me to the greatest hockey player ever lived. I'm very happy to be here. With that said, I'm so glad that I could be part of the show. And you threw me off because I really wanted to just comment. My favorite part of the show is when you launch into, it's episode number whatever, and then you go, yeah, what? Isn't that amazing? We're so great. We made it to this episode every week. It's so great. I can't wait until you celebrate episode 200 the same way you celebrated episode 12. It's amazing.
Right. We're like, and it's
Baby
episode
steps, Sean.
200.
Baby steps.
We're still
No, guaranteed it's going to be the exact same, like 200. Yeah. 12. Hooray. 13. Good for us.
A baker's dozen.
Hey, listen, I'm just alive. I'm happy I'm alive. So
Yeah, the fact that we come back is really a miracle for listeners at home. The fact that we come back, I'm telling you.
I'm celebrating with you guys. Not making fun. I'm celebrating. It's amazing. So happy to be here.
So I wanted to play that because we're episode 100, man. Like, I'm super excited, and Sean actually left us a real voicemail we'll get to in a minute. But it was, I listened to that and it made me think back to that moment that, yeah, like, I say the same thing when we start off, and like I'm super excited, and we talk about, you know, what episode it is, and it's exciting. But Stu is right. If I don't get it right on the first take, it's gonna be a few.
Well, I also want to say we had a couple dark episodes in the 90s around the Bulls where that was a level of excitement I was not sharing.
We had 6 episodes in the 90s. In
Couple,
a span of
few,
8
whatever.
episodes that were amazing.
Blah, blah, blah.
Patrick Novosel also has a couple more questions for us, guys. He says, how do you feel about these 100 episodes? For me, even though some of the early ones are rough to listen to, like now because my level of, I don't know, prissiness, quality control issues,
Snobby
OCD.
ear holes.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a little harder to go back and listen to those, but you know what? For the most part, I'm proud of every single one of these 100 episodes so far. It's been a great joy and a lot of fun, and I love them. Like I'm proud of what I did with Steve. I'm proud of what I'm doing with Stu, and I wouldn't change anything that's happened. Everything that's happened has happened for a reason, and has been wonderful.
For me, I think it's just been like a time capsule. We've talked about it before, but you know, to go back and listen to these, you know, let's say, you know, God forbid something happened, like my kids could go back and like listen to this and say, my gosh, my dad was funny. He was, you know, he did this because it was just for the love of the game, and so you know, and it'll be there forever. So that's I'm proud
And
of it too.
my kids would say, "Oh, so this is what Dad did on Monday nights when he wouldn't feed us."
Bathe yourselves. I've named you.
Pretty much.
He says, what has happened that you did not anticipate? Stu, is there anything that you wouldn't have anticipated that happened on the podcast that happened?
Honestly, that I'm still here. That it was an experiment, right?
Right.
When I even came on and guest starred, it was a feel out. You know, I really wanted to get on a podcast. I've wanted to do podcasting for so long. You're looking for somebody, you needed people to have conversation with, because this isn't just you talking to everything that's out there. You want a conversation. I figured that there would be something there, and I figured I felt like I would be good at podcasting. I felt like I had a voice for it, that kind of thing. I did not expect the chemistry that you and I had from moment one.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm very grateful for that. And it was surprising.
You don't know how grateful I am for that, because it was this thing where I'd had this chemistry with Steve. Steve and I have known each other since we were like 8 and 9. I mean, we've known each other since the womb, essentially. Yep. And and Steve's my best friend. He's a brother to me. We've done so much together. So I knew that our rapport was on a level that I thought couldn't be touched, and that there was no way I was going to be able to find someone that was going to even hold a candle to that on the podcast, and that it would be really hard. And so for me, like trying to figure out, like, I didn't want to do it by myself. I wanted someone I could talk to and have a conversation with. And after that first time, Stu, when you came on and guest hosted, we hadn't talked in a few years.
Right.
But you came on and immediately, like, it just clicked. And it clicked more than it clicked with anyone else that I'd kind of had on. And I had some great guest hosts that came on and filled in, and I'm super grateful for all the people that came and kind of helped me kind of fill in there for a while. But we had that moment in that first episode. I was like, man, Stu's the guy. I gotta play this cool. I don't want to blow this. So let's
like a date.
Let's
don't go in for the kiss. Don't go for the kiss.
Don't call for 3 days. Let's let things
hard
simmer.
To get. Well, let me chime in as well here. So obviously, I didn't plan to make an early exit. Things happen, life happens, that happens. And to be honest, and no one knows this, but Spencer, I didn't ever tell him that I was leaving until we did it live on a podcast. And I did it for a reason, because I wanted to make it authentic and live. And we actually didn't end up using that take, I think, but I thought that I didn't want to like call him offhand or text him and just say, hey, here's what I'm going to do. Let's talk about this in the podcast. So I actually told Spencer I was leaving when we were recording the podcast live. And I know it's probably hard for him to hear. I've thought about it a lot, and I wanted to kind of keep it in the sacred walls, the proverbial walls of the Fortress of Nerditude. And it broke my heart, because I knew it was something that had been special. It had been a special place that we had shared, and I knew it was something special that Spencer had been wanting to do for a long time and was important to him. And so, Stu, I am forever grateful that you were in the right place at the right time, and you could be that person that Spencer needed, and that Gotham needed, and that Gotham deserved. But that could step in and take the reins and run with the baton. So thank you from one friend to another, from one co-pilot to another. I appreciate it.
So, Steve, you did spring that on me live. And I definitely, I stopped you and I was like, no, you and I need to have this conversation. I'm like, we can finish what we're doing and then talk. But you know what? I kind of knew that it was coming because you and I had been talking, constantly, when you were on your kind of sabbatical, and I know how much your family means to you, and I know how much your dad means to you, and the kind of the bad way your dad was really in, and God blessed him. I love him to death. I just know that he needed more help, and you needed to be the good son and help him. And so I would have been more heartbroken if you would have said, no, Dad, I can't devote time to you. I've got to do this thing with Spencer once a week and just, goof around and have a good time. I was fully supportive, still am, with that decision. I wanted you to make sure you were doing what was right for you and your family, because I love them and they mean the world to me. But it is true. That was kind of a hard thing.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what I was going to do.
It's funny that this is kind of coming full circle and that this is a conversation. Because there have been moments. I mean, Spencer, that some of the stuff I've been going through and that time is bunched up. And even though it was a short start for me, the D&D group was a big thing for me. And I wanted that. I needed that to go forward. And we finally got it there. I'm so glad that you actually launched that off. But it's definitely regretful that I had to depart from that right away. And, evaluating all my priorities and how I spend my time, it's been tough. And there have been those moments where I've honestly had to ask and evaluate, is the podcast enough of a priority? Do I need to put that off to the side to take care of other things? I'm very grateful that I've been able to dodge that bullet. Fortunately, things are starting to calm down, but I know that feeling of needing to put that aside. I've not had those events, the level that you have, Steve, that have kicked it across. I'm fortunate that I haven't. It's been close, but this is home. I couldn't see a world where I'm not doing this right now every week. And I'm glad that there has been that baton transition. I definitely, I feel for those events that caused you to have to leave this. I know that this is a special place for the three of us. But I'm honestly honored, touched, moved by what you said, Steve and Spencer, buddy. I need to do this as much as you do. So,
well, now that we've got all the touchy-feely stuff out of the
way, we're about to edit out some crying.
I'm with you. Like this is one of those things, and I said it with Steve way back when, and I mean it just as much when I say it with you now, Stu. It's like I look forward to Monday nights. It's one of the highlights of my week. I've got a lot of stuff going on in my own personal life, and when Steve needed to take a step back, you can ask Brita the next time you see her. Like I had some hard moments with myself where I had to say, do I want to still do this? Do I want to do this going forward with someone other than Steve? Do I want to put in the time and the effort to try to figure out like what the next steps are? And ultimately I realized like it's one of the highlights of my week. I enjoy being able to, put down the cap of, being a father, somewhat, and put down the cap of being a husband and, being an IT system administrator. And I just want to be a nerd, and I want to talk about stuff that interests me and that's going on. And I need this just as much. And so I'm glad that I have this opportunity every week. To a question that's a little less serious, the HFVS podcast at HF Variety Show on Twitter says, my question would be, how long did it take you to get to 100 episodes?
100 weeks.
Almost 2 years.
Me fail English?
Well, I mean, that's a fair question,
That's
though.
true.
I mean, you would expect some podcasts to skip a couple weeks, or maybe it's not well known that this is, absolutely every week. And that what you just said before the transition to this, I'm going to pull you right back in.
Dang you, Stu.
Yep. You're tenacious. That tenacity is
thing,
what
right?
keeps this podcast going. And
That's right.
I mean, it's every week without fail, Spencer. Well done.
Thank you.
So the 100 episodes, though, does that include sidekicks as well? Because, I mean, we cranked out those.
No, this is 100 episodes of the full show, because we did a sidekick episode, which was the very special Fortress Nerditude where you said goodbye, Steve.
Right.
We did
Special Blossom.
we did 11 episodes. No,
Stranger
nine,
Things?
9 episodes of Stranger Things. There were 11 minutes each. There were the recap,
Which was awesome. That was so much fun.
It was so much
marathon.
fun. We need to do that for season 3.
Yeah, man. I'll come back.
Nice. We'll do this trio again for that. That'd be a lot of fun. We did a sidekick podcast for Black Panther when that came out. I think I'd have to go back and look. We did a few, and I want to do more. So it's just 100 episodes of the main show, sidekicks not included. If you include the sidekicks, we've produced out something like 111, 112 things.
Yeah.
So
I got to tell you, Spence, my sons every once in a while will be like, "Hey, Dad, you promised we'd do a podcast with Spencer." I'm like, "Yeah, I promised lots of things."
I'm just toughening you up.
yeah.
Life's hard.
You listen. I know it's Addison asking, right?
Both of them, actually, but yeah.
Carter and Addison.
Yeah.
You let Carter and Addie know that anytime they want to jump on the old podcast with Uncle Spencer, I will record a sidekick podcast with them. We will do something.
Well, you know what? We've talked about this, actually. We've mentioned like bringing our kids into the fold in some way, like either on an episode or whatever. But a sidekick would be awesome. And I mean,
even a movie review.
To bring Steve, you and your kids, and like bring the three of us and all of our kids just to kind of chit chat about something would be amazing.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot of fun.
If my boys are on, you're going to hear a lot about poop and farts right now, because that's apparently the thing with 5 and 4-year-old boys. But
that's okay. Morgana will join in that conversation eagerly.
Oh my gosh! We were going to be the Winnie the Pooh family for our Halloween coming up, and there was going to be Tigger and Eeyore and Piglet, and then the poop emoji for Pooh. That's what we were going to do.
You know what's
That'd
funny
go really
though?
well at church.
What we need to do also is somehow convince Katie, my oldest, to be the kid wrestler for all of that.
Oh, have her do some moderating.
I can't do an episode with our kids without my older daughter. And
No.
she's an adult. She's 22. She needs to be involved.
Would she be down for doing something like that, Stu?
That's going to be a really hard sell, but you better believe I'm going to angle that the next time she needs to borrow money.
That's right. So not
You
only do you
want
have
this,
to gold farm and
don't
fish
you?
for me in World of Warcraft, you also have to get on my podcast.
Oh man, and that
I
needs to
love
be a
that
topic
story.
of conversation.
I love that story. That's probably one of my favorite things you've ever told me in my whole life.
Nice.
You can either go to your room and be grounded, or you can fish for me in World of Warcraft.
I'll go to my room, or you can shave my armpits.
All right. So
That went dark.
Paul Calico asked us a Twitter, and then we've got actually a voicemail from Paul too. He says, "Okay, so in Star Trek they have replicators that make food. Do y'all think they ever ordered McDonald's or Subway from a replicator?" I doubt it.
Okay, so I did see this question a moment ago, and I actually have some thought about this.
Okay.
So we love nostalgia, right?
Yep.
We saw in Back to the Future, what was it 2, where they go to the
2.
future, and they've got the the Pepsi Cola crap and whatnot.
Right.
I could easily see. Like, I don't think that they would, on the Starship Enterprise or whatever. I don't know that that would be a thing. If it was, great. But I could see on Earth, like, the aspects of Star Trek that we never see, like the social clubs and things like that. I could see there being, like, nostalgia restaurants that have that kind of thing where they could replicate the, the quarter pounder with cheese and whatnot. And I would see that actually possibly being a popular kind of thing in a needsless society in the future.
Huh, that's interesting because I wouldn't have thought of it like that, but now that you say that, that totally makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't do that if I had a replicator. I wouldn't be like, I'm really hankering for a Big Mac right now. I'd be like, no, I want some, steak and like a potato. Like I would go for something maybe a little higher quality.
I want some flavorless protein shake.
Yeah, let's not talk about that, Stu. That just hurts.
I want some pizza.
I want some pork chop pizza. I knew that's where you were gonna go. Dang you. I want something, something on my potbelly cooker.
Well, and you think about like the market for nostalgia. I mean, the NES Classic, Mini or whatever. I mean, all these things.
Oh, yeah.
It's the retro movies that they're remaking. I mean, that's big money. So I could see that.
We also know that in the future that Taco Bell wins the fast food wars. So
that is true. Demolition Man taught us that.
That's true.
That is true. Let's actually go to the voicemail from Paul Calico because he's got another question or two over there.
Good evening, Spencer, Stu, maybe Steve. This is Paul coming at you for your 100th episode. Congratulations, gentlemen. It's been one heck of a ride. Well, I've been working on this notebook piece of paper all week of things that I wanted to ask you. So here we go. If you were a transformer, what would you be? A triple changer, a beast, or a mono? Would your triple changer be 2 vehicles or 1 vehicle, a bot, and a beast? Hit me up with your answers. Let me know. On the last episode, 99, Stu talked about maybe doing a movie club for older movies. I think that's a really good idea. I have 2 offerings. My first one will be Warriors of Virtue. It's about a kid gets swept up to magical land and 5 giant kangaroos, anthropomorphic. I don't know. It was pretty cool. I watched it when I was a kid. Second movie I'd like to see y'all do a movie club for is Fanboys. The story of the friends that want to go see Star Wars Episode 1 before it even came out. Because one of them has cancer, he's going to die, blah, 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 blah. But I watched that movie the other night, and man, it took me back. I had some really good memories post Jar Jar, prior Jar Jar, before Jar Jar Binks. Question number 2. When will y'all be opening FON Potbelly Cooker? That's the name of your restaurant I've been giving you. I mean, you got the pork chop pizza, pulled pork, smoked meats, deep dish pizza. Throw a salad bar in there. You got a restaurant. Just let me know when and where the first location will be, and I'll be there. Next is the things I love. The Bothan cloning machine. I love that y'all keep cloning these Bothans for the slaughter. Just keep on cloning and keep on slaughtering, guys. Bringing that news to us every week is really nice. question about that. Do y'all clone Jen Urso also? Because she's bopping, right? She died to bring us this rebel intelligence. I'm going to go for my all-time favorite moment of Fortress of Nerditude. Like, I have a lot of favorite moments, like when I started answering the question of the week and Spencer would go all the way back to, like, say, episode 1 or episode 10 and read my answer. That really brightened my day every time. So my all-time favorite moment was when I politely stole the farewell at the end when I got to host. It was super awesome letting this amateur come on your show. I really appreciated the chance, and I snuck in and stole that. May the force be with you at the end. Anyway, that's my all-time favorite. I love you guys. Keep up the good work. Here's to 100 more. Else time.
Welcome back to episode 101.
Woo! Shoot us tour.
Okay, so a couple things. First of all, I like that Paul Calico has named the restaurant that he imagines we're going to open, the FON Potbelly Cooker.
It's the next step, baby.
That's
right?
Franchise that mother.
I like the fact that our super friends know the pork chop pizza so well that they reference that.
That I invented.
Yes. So yeah, Steve, a little bit of background. I cooked up some pork chops in the pit barrel cooker.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about my deep dish pizza, and then we started talking about this idea Stu brought together when Chelsea Capri was on.
Wham,
and
bam,
she's
thank you.
A pregnant lady, and she was talking about food, and we came up with this idea of melding pork chops and pizza together and having a pork chop pizza. And then I said I'd try to make it.
So,
and then
did you make it?
Let's put it this way. The pork chops did not thaw out in time, so I made other deep dish pizza. I didn't make pork chop pizza, though.
I was promised a thing that did not happen. And he took my money in the process.
Wow. So there was a lot covered in that voicemail, though. That was
yeah. So
where do we
first
start?
of all, let's
Transformers.
Let's start with Transformers. Yes, triple changer, double changer, mono changer. I think I would be a triple changer that has mono.
Turns out you were just really bored. Wow.
I think if I were to become a Transformer, I would want to turn into some sort of a vehicle. I wouldn't want to be a beast or anything like that. I'd want to be a cool vehicle.
The only Transformer I've ever wanted to be was Sideswipe. Corvette.
And you have a Corvette?
Strange.
Huh.
I pretend I'm my Corvette once in a while. It's a fantasy.
So, always loved Optimus Prime. I mean, it's maybe cliche, but I also loved the Dinobots, the big like T-Rex. I don't know, he couldn't do much, and he has little skinny arms, so that's probably a disadvantage. But I had him as a kid and loved him.
Yeah. Let's see. Paul also asked about he talked about the
Jyn Erso.
Jyn Erso. Okay, so here's the thing. I have to clarify this because this is my Star Wars OCD-ness that is not going to let me drop this.
Oh my gosh.
The Bothans that got the Rebel Intelligence was for the second Death Star. Bothans are a race of aliens. They kind of have a dog-like look to them, kind of like a cross between like a kind of a dog, or sometimes depending on what version, they could look a little feline as well. They're not human looking, and Jyn Erso was prior to that. It was the first Death Star. She is not Bothan at all. We did not murder Jyn Erso over and over and over again. However, we do have a plethora of Bothans in the galaxy.
We breed them.
Yeah. We breed them for the slaughter.
For the pork chop pizza.
We don't give them names intentionally.
That's okay. So big reveal time. I actually name every single Bothan.
Well, that makes me feel worse.
That's why he's got all the crunch time, man. He's got no time for it.
Can't bug me. I'm naming Bothans.
Don't bother me, boy.
Anyway, Paul, thank you for the voicemail, and thank you for your questions. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's see here. Over on Discord, we're on with some of the Discord people. Donnie at Play Nintendo says, first of all, congratulations to the 100 episodes. Such a big accomplishment to stick to something and follow through for that many weeks in a row. Now that you've reached this milestone, do you have any regrets from the first 100 and or goals for the next 100?
Well, we already
Goals
kind of
for-
talked about
Yeah.
like the next stuff, right?
Yeah, we kind of talked about the next 100 and some goals. Regrets. I don't know that I really have any regrets. I've been fairly happy with mostly everything we've done. There's been one or two that, okay, let me take us back. I regret that sometimes when I'm sick, I play a little game called Let's Take NyQuil right before we start recording.
All right.
And let's see how far I can get before I get a little slap happy.
Those also turn into Stu's favorite moments from the past 100 episodes.
I do regret some of the things I may or may not have said when I edit the next day, and I'm like, I have no recollection of saying this. Why didn't someone stop me? Why didn't someone say, Spence, you can't say that on a podcast?
Because
And,
I was having too much fun, sir.
Yeah, so I regret your inability to control my thoughts.
Unwillingness. Unwillingness.
I really don't have a lot of regrets, but I must say that is a fun game when I am sick, is how far I can go. And usually it's about the hour mark, and then medicine really starts kicking me in the rear. So what about you, Stu? Steve, do you guys have any regrets from the podcast?
All my Utah swears.
Oh yeah, your Utah swears.
My only regret would be there were many a time when I did not contribute as much as I probably could have or should have in preparation work, and much of the burden, if not 112%, was carried by Spence. So I do feel bad about that because he's got a busy life and he's got 2 boys and all the rest. So, but
Don't worry about the boys. He'll just leave them at school.
I don't.
Yeah. No, that was Brita. I'm okay. I'm gonna get in such trouble for bringing that back up.
That's gone viral. DCFS
all right.
will be calling.
There's another voicemail I want to get to that I think this one's gonna put Stu on the hot seat.
Oh, here we go. Okay,
voice-
so this is authentic reactions.
Yes, Stu has not listened to this. This is from Ellie, and we're gonna give this a listen.
Congratulations on reaching 100 episodes. My question for both of you, now that you're 100 episodes in, if you could go back in time and you could share one thing that you've learned with yourself back on day one of being on the podcast, what would it be? Also, I have a question for Stu. I've noticed that in the last month or so, you've been making a lot of references in the introductory part of what you've been doing for the last week or so about some obscure thing that you don't want to jinx. And you can bring something up like that once and get away with it, but it keeps coming up. And inquiring minds want to know, what's going on?
Okay, inquiring minds, Ellie do want to know, Stu. Yeah, what's up with that? You've been hitting around stuff, and you and I have had some conversations, but the Superfriends, I think they're entitled, nay, should be told what's going on.
It should have ended with nay, entitled. Entitled is something very different.
I was in my head that was different. I promise I haven't taken NyQuil yet.
Okay, so, well, let me answer that question directly. So, what I would have learned from day one on the podcast.
No, you don't.
We'll get there. Let's take that second question first.
Oh.
Inquiring minds want to know. So what are you not wanting to jinx, Stu?
Superfriends, Ellie, Superfriends. Yeah, there's, we've never heard that name on the podcast before. So now I'm sweating and it's great.
Your face is really red, by the
way. Well, let's just say, okay, so the whole jinxing thing.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so I know she's going to be listening to this. So this is cool.
Okay, so
anyway,
let me put this by saying, like, I love asking you these questions every week, and you specifically asked me not to ask these questions lately. So now I'm just dying to hear these answers.
I have had a string of pretty phenomenally crappy luck with dating.
Or as I call it, awesome podcast material. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm sure. And if I didn't say anything, things were fine. But anytime I mentioned someone on the podcast, they were not mentioned on the next podcast. Like, not a single time.
Ellie, it was nice knowing you.
Oh my, yeah. Oh, episode number 101. I'm not going to be here for that. And so, yeah, I've been kind of afraid to talk about anything that's going on. Also, this is legit. I kind of started feeling like maybe I was kind of, I don't know that I would have wanted to hear me complain about the whole dating thing week after week and get into all that kind of stuff. And that could be uncomfortable for some people. I know I would be uncomfortable hearing about it all the time, I guess. And so I kind of pulled back away from that and talking about that. But, so for a couple weeks kind of thing, there's this girl.
Stop dancing around it, man. Get to it.
Ellie's my girlfriend.
Yeah. What? There we go. There we go. Mic drop.
Boom.
What?
My biggest regret in this, though, is that she has the most amazing, sexy voice. And she had to actually call in to leave the voicemail instead of what you would normally hear with like lossless audio. Because dang. Oh, Utah swear. Sorry.
Golly dang.
Yeah, but things are getting there, getting pretty good and stuff, and it's been nice, and I've been happy with that. And well, I guess that's it, Ellie. You've been mentioned on the podcast, so
fraternizing with Superfriends. This is fantastic. My gosh. Did this happen from
I have
the podcast?
No morals. Let's be clear.
Stu is so red right now. This is awesome. Literally the hot seat. So here's the deal, Ellie. Anytime you want to come on the podcast and leave a message, feel free. You can call in that number, but we can help you out with the lossless audio so we can get the full effect.
Spencer.
I'm just saying.
Shut up.
So I got to ask though, Stu. So how long has this been? I mean, I'm a little slow in the uptake here. So when did this happen? How did this happen?
Oh no. I am done going down the private rabbit hole right now.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
Okay, so let's go back to the first question.
Has brought love to the world. This is fantastic. This is one of the goals. This is our bucket list.
Let's get it on.
I would love to be able to continue talking about Ellie in the future. Little details and stuff, but I'm kind of it's a little awkward. So
my mind's telling me no.
Thank you very much.
My body's telling me yes. I don't want to hurt nobody.
That's right. Are you ready to come back to the podcast permanently?
But there's something I must confess
to you.
I don't see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind. I don't see nothing wrong. I love
may
how
or may not be edited out.
Stu is right now. I'm editing nothing. So the first question of Ellie's, is there anything I would go back in time?
I would go back about 3 minutes.
3 minutes and 48 seconds to be exact.
I in all honesty, I would go back and I would say to myself, I'd say, Spencer, this is a labor of love. You're going to put in a lot more time than you think you're going to put in right now. But just know that every moment like this is so worth it. Being able to interact with the Super Friends, being able to interact with Steve and Stu week in and week out, is totally worth it. So don't worry about the time that it's going to take to put this together. That's what I go back and tell myself.
To completely try to think about something different, I would go back to say, don't worry about your audio so much. Worry about the sounds around you. Don't worry about how you sound. Do it. Just do the podcast. Start talking.
Make
It'll work
that
out.
leap.
For the first few weeks of the podcast, I was controlling my breathing so much, I was having to mute my microphone, turn around and actually take a few deep breaths and then go back to talking. Because I was worried because I am a little bit breathy and that does come across on the podcast. But you know what? It still sounds good. I haven't had anybody complain. It's more about being in my own head with that.
Spencer's such a audio Nazi, my gosh.
don't ask Steve about some of the things I told him.
Like he's like, what are you doing with your pen? Are you typing? What are you doing? I'm like, it's my brittle bones. I have arthritis. What?
Steve had this episode where I'm watching him and I was like, what is he doing? And I realized he had this like little zipper on this sweater and he was going zip up, zip down, zip up, zip down.
My
and he was doing it while he was talking, so I couldn't edit it out. I'm like, This is so dang annoying. The next week, I'm like, Steve, a few notes, a couple things to go over.
Constructive criticisms.
Stop clicking your pen. Stop zipping your zipper. It sounds like you're zipping your pants down every 3 seconds.
And how?
No one could. Yeah, exactly. No one knew.
It made him so nervous he had to go all the time.
The nice thing is I've also upped my editing game, so I can take care of a lot of things. And I always say, like, hey, if you got a cough, do it when the other person's talking, or a sneeze, because that's super easy. But if you do it when you're talking, it adds some realism. We'll just put it that way, because there's not much I can do.
I would say, looking back, for Spencer, I mean, you think about, so Stu's found love. Spencer has. I gotta get an update here. I gotta get an update. How many pounds have you lost, Spence? Because we haven't talked in maybe a week.
I've lost 127 pounds since the first of the year, since January 1.
Hot
and gained
dang,
6 donuts.
Man. And that was starting what? What was it? Hellboy to
Hopper to Hellboy.
Hopper to Hellboy. There we go. We started with that.
Yep.
And so, the Fortress of Nerditude has done some good in the world today, my friend. And so looking back, maybe Spence, you could have started earlier, but that's all right, because better late than never. And freaking, you look fantastic. Just want to tell you, shout out to the.
Thank you.
Shout out to the man.
It's all about getting healthy for my family. So yeah. Let's see here. I've got a voicemail from a world traveler I think we should listen to, Mr. Ozoj Noodlepats.
Oh Lord. My gosh, he's back.
Well, hello, it's Ojway Noodlepats. It's been such a long time since I've had a chance to talk to you guys. I am so happy you guys made it to 100 episodes. Back when you first started, I thought you'd be lucky to hit 7. Especially with that red-headed fellow, but you were smart and dumped him. Good move. Actually, come to think of it, that new guy, he's okay, I guess, if you want someone who's informative and such. But, I guess he'll pass for now until the next new host comes along. Maybe someday I'll take that chair. Come to think of it, I'm too busy traveling the world. I'll just listen and let Stu and Spencer stick to it. Until next time, fellas. Cheers!
All right, Ozoj Noodlepats.
He
world
does not
traveler.
sound Swedish at all.
Well, he uses a vocoder. He doesn't want us to know where he's at and who he is. He keeps his identity secret.
He's a cross between, Charlie from Charlie's Angels, like the Great Oz, and like the creepy, Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs.
He's also, I would say, more like the Claw from Inspector Gadget.
Ooh,
Get you, Gadget. Next time.
No, you know what? Anytime you want to throw down on the show, I don't think he's even a real person, so.
Well, we know Ozoj Noodlepats.
Have him on the show.
Let's go to another one. Let's go to Bobby Pauls.
Fortress of Nerditude, one of my favorite geeky podcasts in all the land. This is Bobby the Nintendo Guru, just reaching out to you guys and just wanted to say, man, congratulations on hitting episode 100. No easy feat. Let's be honest. Nobody thought you guys would get here. I definitely didn't think you guys would get past episode 2. And then you shocked me. And then you did an episode 3 and a 4 and a 5. And now you're at episode 100. I tip my cap to you. You can't see me tipping my cap. I can't. Well, you could if you watch the video, Free Flow Friday. I'm recording this live, so I'm going to tip my cap to you guys. And I just want to say, congratulations. Hopefully, this is just the beginning of some great things. And hopefully, episode 200, I'll be back again to do this again. And bring me back on, man. Bring me back on the show. What are you doing? How do you not have me back on the show? That is all. Thank you, guys. Congratulations. Peace out.
All right, Bobby Pauls coming in. It's
good guy, man.
Yeah, good guy. He came on for an episode where we talked about Batman, and we were talking about the Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice episode quite a while back. Yeah, we need to have Bobby back on. Bobby's a good guy, and he's a DC guy, so he definitely could maybe combat some of the DC displeasure we have currently.
He knows his stuff. Maybe for a movie review, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's a good idea. Anyway, thanks, Bobby. Appreciate that. Back over on Discord, We got Mark Boucher says, congrats on 100 episodes. Lady Crit DM says, nice, congratulations on hitting 100 episodes. So, quite a bit of the old congratulations. Mark the Canadian says, congrats on 100 episodes. That's a huge milestone. Let's go over to another voicemail. We got DSpin67. DSpin's a great guy, comes in all the time.
The Fortress of Nerditude podcast. What's going on? Hey, it's your boy DSpin67, host of the One Day Will Be Released Nerdish podcast. Don't hate. So you guys are looking for ideas. What I would like to see from you guys, if you could do a end of the year favorite games, movies, and possibly TV shows, the stuff that's been on like Netflix and Hulu, that kind of stuff. Not the network stuff, because that will carry on until the next year. So if you could do that, that'd probably be kind of cool. You get your ideas on what. I'm more interested, well, not more, but really interested in your take on like your favorite movies. So if you guys want to do that, throw that in the little, I don't know, something we can think about trying to do in that hat. So anyway, congratulations on you're about to hit your 100th podcast. That's a milestone, but congrats. Keep grinding, keep doing what you do. And I'll be listening for you guys as I always do. Again, this is DSpin67, so be great, guys. Thanks. Bye.
DSpin, I love that idea. Like our top of the year, top TV, kind of Netflix thing, movie, video game.
I already kind of have my answers.
And the year's not over yet.
What I love about that as well is like, so Stu, you talked about Spencer, like grinding this out, being day in and day out, week in and week out. I got a shout out to the Superfriends as well, because DSpin67, he's been with us since like way early on in the beginning, and every step of the way. And it sounds like from his voicemail that he's starting something on his own, as well. So Spence, you have been an inspiration to other people to be able to do what to.
I love that he says. I love he says, "Don't hate." It's like, no, man. Do your thing. You let me know when and where, and I will tune in and listen. Which we've got a bunch of super friends in our community here that now have their own podcasts and doing their own thing.
That's right, man.
And I go out and listen to their stuff and support everywhere I possibly can. So hey man, if you got something going on, DSpin, hit us up. Let us know any way we can help out. I'm there for you.
Absolutely.
But I like that idea, Stu. I think that's something we got to do
for sure.
Let's go over to Delvin Cox, another great supporter, super friend of the podcast, been around since the beginning.
Hello, Domino's. Yes, I'm like a thin crust pepperoni. No, I'm just playing. This is your boy Delvin Cox from the Delvin Cox Experience, and I gotta say, guys, 100 episodes in, you guys are still awesome. A lot of things changed since episode 1 to now. I just want to say I'm very proud of you guys, Spencer and Stu, man. Keep doing your thing. Here's to 100 more episodes. I love you guys very much. You guys probably can have me on the podcast, but that's a whole other story. I love you guys. Keep doing your thing. Delvin from the Delvin Cox Experience. Peace out.
Man, Delvin every week gets out there on the Twitter and the Facebook and all that. Like, he's always on social media saying like, hey, new Fortress of Nerditude is live. Check him out. Like, he is literally one of our biggest champions, along with probably the other super friend, Chad Fackler, at Bear the Hairless, who gets out there and just literally champions us week in, week out. We are so glad you are part of this community and that you are in our corner.
For sure.
That's awesome.
So when are we having him on the show?
We just gotta arrange it. I've been on the Delvin Cox Experience twice. Once by myself early on when he kind of rebranded and started kind of new, and then Josh and I were on it together. So yeah, we got to make that happen. We got to get something on the books. So let's see. We got a couple more over on the old voicemails. Let's go to Chris McCracken, a good friend.
Hey guys, this is Chris McCracken. I just want to say congratulations on reaching it to 100 episodes of Fortress of Nerditude. That is quite the accomplishment. It is no small feat at all. It takes a lot of dedication and a lot of hard work and a lot of just bringing it each and every week. And so congrats to you guys. Really proud of y'all. And just keep it up because we need to get to 200. All right, take it easy.
I agree, Chris. We do need to get to 200. Maybe when we get to 200, we'll actually do some sort of a meetup.
You know, we should just start planning all the guests we want to have on episode 200 now.
Right?
And the menu.
And the menu, yes.
Deep dish. Lots of pizza, Spence.
I think we know that. Yeah. And the other thing is D-Spin. No, was it D-Spin? No, it was Delvin.
No.
He said Domino's, and he says thin crust pizza.
That was awesome.
Now, come on now. You know we don't do thin crust around here. You got to use a fork.
I actually had thin crust pizza tonight.
You watch your mouth stew it.
You know, I actually got, I got one of those pumpkin pizzas from Papa John's, where it's like shaped like a pumpkin and they've got pepperoni around the outsides and they've got 2 little olives. It has literally 2 slices of olives on the whole pizza.
Really?
They did not cut it.
They didn't cut it.
They just left it as like a whole
roll
pizza?
it up and eat it?
Yep.
Wow.
It was actually kind of terrible.
So did you just like start at one end and start like gnawing on it and just like work it around?
I have my own pizza cutter. But it was
Where ever did you find such a tool?
Is your pizza cutter shaped like the Starship Enterprise?
Duh.
Spencer's is.
I got one. I've never used it because
mine
it
is
looks
not,
too
no.
nice. But
well, you diva.
yeah, I know. It's in like a little thing. I got a case for it. It was a gift.
It's hermetically sealed. Like Michael Jackson.
Hermetically sealed.
Keeps it in a back to tank.
Yes.
Cryogenically frozen.
I think we've got 2 more voicemails to get through. So let's go to actually Sean Capri's voicemail.
Sean like the pants, Capri like the pants.
That was awesome, Steve. Sean like the pants, Capri like the pants. I like the fact that you know that you're so close, but yet not quite
so
there.
Close.
Sean like
it's an hour
Connery.
later here, you D's. An hour later.
Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. Sean like the pants, Capri like the pants. He's gonna love this, by the way.
Keep it in.
Let's listen.
Hey guys, it's me, Sean Capri. Congratulations on your 100th episode. I know from week to week it's a bit of a grind, but I really do hope that you guys take a moment to just relish 100 episodes. Think about what that means. Think about all the growth that you've had over the years and all the lessons you've learned and the fun that you've had. 100 episodes is a huge, huge deal. Not every podcast, most don't even make it past 10, as you know. So I'm just so incredibly humbled to even be asked to call in. I love this voicemail thing. I should do this more often. So congratulations, guys. I know you built an incredible community, and it's because you have goodness in your hearts, and you share the love for nerditude, and just I love it, guys. So congratulations. Enjoy this 100th episode, and I hope you have hundreds and hundreds more. Congratulations, and all the best. Take care.
All right, Sean. Sean's one of my favorite people on the internet. Super positive. As I say, one of the greatest Canadians ever born, maybe other than Wayne Gretzky, which I know he hates hearing. But Sean's been a guest on the podcast. His wife, Chelsea's been a guest on the podcast. It was the episode with Chelsea, Stu, and I did that I really just, man, that was such a great episode. We were trying to talk about something that's difficult, and she was like the perfect guest, and we had a great time. And then Steve and I got to talk with Sean Capri back in the day, quite a while back ago, which I believe we called that episode Sean Capri Jedi Mountie.
Jedi Mountie, yeah. I think he was one of our first guests, wasn't he?
He was our second guest. Our first guest was Chase Van Orden, who did a movie club with us. But yeah, anyway, Sean, thanks so much for dropping in and all your words of support. Sean's actually been a good friend when I was kind of putting together some of the ideas for the podcast. I talked to him, and I talked to Ed Placencia, and those two, Gabe Patillo as well. Those three, I guess, really were kind of the people I kind of bounced ideas off of and kind of talked about some some ways to do podcasting and formats and stuff like that. And Sean in particular, though, really helped me kind of refine what I wanted to get out of the podcast and helped me kind of like try to look at it from some perspectives I hadn't been thinking of. And so he's been a great support.
And I love Relish. He said we should relish this. I love Relish. It's a win situation.
Yeah. Who doesn't love Relish?
The goodness of your heart shows through in your love of Relish.
My heart is 2 sizes too small.
Anyway, thank you so much. Okay, the last voicemail we have, I'm gonna go to my brother Josh Stapleton, because nice bum, because Josh has known me the longest, and obviously he was there when I was bouncing ideas off of, and so I figured we'd let him be the last voicemail of the evening.
That's awesome.
Spence, Stu, congratulations on 100 episodes, but I'd like to take us back to an earlier tradition. Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, when I was dead broke, man, I couldn't picture this. 50-inch screen, money green, leather sofa, got 2 rides, a limousine with a chauffeur. Phone bill about 2 G's flat, no need to worry, my accountant handles that. And the whole crew was lounging, celebrating every day, no more public housing. Thinking back of my one-roof shack, now my mom pimps an act with minks on her back. And she loved to show me off, of course, smiles every time my face is up in the sauce. We used to fuss when the landlord dissed us, no heat, wonder why Christmas missed us. Birthdays was the worst days, now we ship champagne when we're thirsty. Dang right I like the life I live, cause I went from negative to positive, and it's all good. Happy 100, fellas.
I love
Who has a $2,000 phone bill? Whoever wrote that rap? Oh my gosh, that was awesome.
A long time ago, Steve and I, for some reason, started singing R&B, kind of hip-hop rap stuff, and then I would do something, and then the next episode, Steve would try to drop in something to surprise me. And so I like that Josh brought it old school. But Josh, in response, because I'm not going to let you throw down the gauntlet.
Oh, no.
1, 2, 3 into the 4. Snoop Doggy Doggy, Dr. Dre is at the door, ready to make an entrance, so back on up, because I'm about to rip up. Give me the microphone first so I can bust like a bubble. Compton and Long Beach together, man, you in trouble. Ain't nothing but a G thing, baby. 2 loped out brothers so crazy. Death Row is the label that pays me. Unfadable, so please don't try to fade me. Hell yeah. Now back to the lecture at hand. Perfection is perfecting, so I let them understand. From a young G's perspective, what do you got? Come on now, bring it.
Yeah, boy, taking it LBC.
Anyway, just as I love the fact that we can do silly, goofy stuff like this, or like before, where we were singing R. Kelly's "Bump and Grind."
Yeah, thanks for that. By the way,
just setting the mood, Stu. Disco, Stu.
Anyway. Thank you, Josh, for bringing us back old school and reminding us of our roots, which is, steeply traditioned in the R&B community.
Exactly.
I'm currently reevaluating my life.
I'm Irish. My mother was Dutch Welsh.
I'm just trying to make a living on Groot's farms.
Shoot farms.
Yeah, see? Yeah. Your Burgess Meredith is the old penguin.
Ah, the wheels fell off, see? Yeah.
A big one.
Oh, yeah, I do a Jimmy Stewart occasionally.
You do?
Don't I?
Do it. Come on. It's 100 episodes.
Well, Mr. Potter, you see, you got the whole building alone. I want a big one.
There you go.
Jimmy Stewart. See.
Merry Christmas, Bedford Falls. Merry Christmas, Emporium. Merry Christmas, y'all building and loan.
Gotta go right into it.
Kermit the Frog here.
Oh boy!
Come on, give us your Macho Man. Come on,
Nope.
give us the Macho Man.
Snap into a Slim Jim. Come on, Stu.
2 Macho Mans in 1 episode's too much.
A 3, a 2, a 1.
Need a little excitement? Feeling bored? Oh yeah! Snap into a Slim Jim.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
So good.
If I close my eyes, I'm transported to 1984.
That's right. And anyway, this is trying to find a way to kind of wrap up the celebration that's episode 100. Steve, Stu, what would you say has been your favorite, not favorite moment necessarily, but like the favorite thing, like when you walk away from all this, when the podcast is over, when the podcast is all said and done, like what's going to be the one thing you're going to take with you that you're going to be most proud of?
Go ahead, Steve.
Stu wanted to go first.
Nope. I said it first. You go first.
Oh, you're such a gentleman. Ellie, you've got a gentleman on your hands. All right.
Don't set those expectations.
Right. I would just say friendship, man. I would say, strengthening my friendship with Spencer was the entire purpose of doing this. We went, as we've said before, we went months without talking to each other. And that was a really weird thing. But as life got busy, it just happened. And so this was an excuse to get there once a week. And it happened for 62 episodes. And it was fantastic. And so strengthening that friendship and making new friends across the globe with, our super friends. And so I would say, friendship and laughs. It's been a barrel of both.
What about you, Stu?
That this is the place to be me, and I think you said it earlier, Steve. I believe about you have to be a professional during the day, and I think I really wear a lot of different masks, and I'm not going to say hats because they're really masks, and it's how I need to portray myself. I need to be a father to Morgana. And I'm really open with Morgana, and I really don't try to shield her from much. It's the second kid. I mean, she's going to fall down the stairs. As long as she gets up, I'm good and can avoid the, everything that goes along with that. But work has a mask. My fatherhood has a mask. Dealing with the housekeeper has a mask that I slowly back up the stairs away from. And to be able to talk to people, like even with my gaming groups, there's always there's an agenda there, and you're there to play games, and maybe you're reacting to certain personalities. And as much as it is the show, it's also Spencer. And I know the Super Friends have responded, and that's been encouraging, and it just really lets me be me for the time that I'm on the podcast and be authentic and actually push myself out to something instead of trying to filter something in a certain way to be effective at whatever I'm doing. Because what makes me most effective here on the podcast is when I am myself. And I love that so much. I'm humbled, honestly, sincerely. I have a huge ego, and it drives my career, it drives everything else. But when I'm here, also that vulnerability and humility gets to come out. I'm so grateful, Super Friends, the regulars that are here. I know I've got some coworkers that listen. Ellie. There's just so much that this is a part of my real life from, but it all kind of culminates into one couple-hour block on a Monday or Tuesday night. And it's really probably the most alive I've been throughout the week. Now, that may change with Ellie. It probably already has. But I get to be me, and I get to express that, and I get a voice, and I love to be heard, and I love the feedback. And it's definitely a bi-directional relationship with the Super Friends that I'm grateful for.
I love what both of you have said, because in what Stu and Steve, what you both said, like I see so much of myself in both of your big takeaways. Things that, when you walk away from everything you're going to be like proud of, and, like things that have meant the most to you. And I just want to say, I think the only other thing I would add, because I just want to echo what both you said. I think the only other thing for me that's like a big takeaway is that there was a time in my life when I felt like I couldn't be myself, that I had to act a certain way or be a certain way because it was what was expected of me. And I tried to do that, and I tried to fit into a place that I wasn't very comfortable at. And it really made me miserable. And this is like, it's a time for me every week just to say, you know what? I can just be me, and we can talk about a book that I read, or a video game, or a movie that I want to watch, or something I read online that I thought was really interesting. I don't have to feel like I've got to put on airs or that I have to be a certain way. Like I said, sometimes I'm going to go for that joke that's going to cross the line and it's going to get that reaction that is expected. I know that's going to happen. I'm a habitual line pusher for jokes. I understand that's going to happen, but that's part of who I am. Like, good, bad, indifferent, ugly, whatever. Like, that's part of just who I am. And I don't ever want to not be that way. I'd rather be me than be someone else. And I think that's my biggest takeaway, is that this is just a time when I can be myself. And I love that. And I love interacting with Stu and then with Steve and obviously with our super friends. Like, it's so awesome when I see our super friends get in and respond to us and have conversations. I mean, gosh, when we talked about that gaming addiction and we started seeing super friends say like, hey, my wife was listening with me when I was listening to this. And then we had a conversation. I know Peter Christensen's talked about having a conversation with his wife. I know Brian Scott's talked about having conversations with his wife, Callie. I know Caleb Albers has talked about having conversations with his wife. It's just like, I love hearing that has happened, and we've had somewhat of a small effect on conversations out there, and I just love that.
We've kicked off a conversation. It's not even about having an effect. It's like somebody else taking something that they heard, having their own thoughts, having dialogue.
Yeah. But with all that being said, like, just kind of wrap this up. It's been a great run of 100 episodes. I'm looking forward to all the episodes that are coming up in the future. We've got some great ideas, some things we want to do, between episodes 100 and 200. And Super Friends, I hope you stay along for the ride and that we continue to build and grow this community and the interactions and the conversations, and that that you can be a part of it with us, because we truly do feel like you are just as important of a part of this podcast as we are, which is why for episode 100, we wanted to hear from you and kind of talk a little bit about where we've come from, where we're going, our favorite stuff, but we also wanted to hear what was some of your favorite stuff and things you want to see and whatnot. And I'm glad we had the chance to do that tonight with you.
Yes.
Also, yes. I agree.
Well, let's do this like we always do. From all of us here at the Fortress of Nerditude to all of you out there, wherever you may be, may the Force be with you. Always.
Also, rate us 5 stars on iTunes. Thank you.
Shameless plug. I love it.
All right, Steve, let's get this rolling.
Yeah, you want to check levels real quick, Spence?
Yeah, let's check it. Let's say check baby 1 2 3 4.
Yeah.
Check baby 1 2 3.
Looking good. Yeah.
Check baby 1 2.
Almost there.
Check baby 1. It's called the Wump Shaker. The beast is like sweeter than candy. I'm feeling manly and your shake is coming in handy.
Oh, that's awesome.
You want me to keep that, don't you?
Oh, yes. You've got I love your inflections, like 1 2.
Oh man! It's a night show for sure, man. I'm feeling it tonight.
Yeah, I actually took like a 10-minute siesta really quick so I could have a little energy, and it's helped. So